Let's roll, rolling at the start. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar openers podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar openers podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas thugs, fearless in our release. Jar openers podcast, where the lies will decrease.
Let's hear that one more time.
Right.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to replay this song.
I got it memorized now.
I pretty much do. Every time when we jump off at the end, I have it in my head for the next like hour or two until I go to bed usually. But what's up, everybody? I see a few people already filing in here. Nobody's in chat yet, though. So last show we were being called out for being a little bit late, but this time I guess they just expected it.
Yeah, right. So we're not going to show up.
What's up, TNT? Oh man. Steve Splinter says, we talk about Knowles and Wilson yet? Did we? No, we're just getting started there, Steve. Literally just getting started right now. So we'll get into that here. We're going to talk about the plane crash first, and then we'll get into the Knowles Wilson thing is our second topic. But what's up, Dirty Money?
Looks like people want the Knowles Wilson stuff. We can start with that and move to the helicopter.
Yeah, we can do that. I can adjust. I'm adjustable. I don't know what the word is. What up, Dirty Money? I watch your lives like almost every day. I put them on for a good 10-15 minutes just while I'm doing stuff around the house. It's actually I don't know why, but it's intriguing, dude. I'm glad to see your channel's growing. He picks up trash and he live streams it. And man, dude's channel is doing great. I think he's over 3,000 subs now, and it's been, I don't know, maybe a month or so. How long has it been since you started your channel there, Dirty Money? He's in the Discord as well. I want to let everybody know we do have a Discord. It's full of we got a nice amount of content creators in there, and the conversations are plenty. So if you're a Discord type person, consider clicking that link down in the description as well. But I wanted to talk to Dirty Money, dude. When you get time, like during the in the evening time during the week, call me on Discord. Like go into the DMs and call me. I got some questions for you, and I wanted to help you with a couple things. Okay, been 3 months uploading consistently. That's cool. Yeah, I think he said I talked to him briefly yesterday, and I think he said he had like 1.2 million views or something like that in the last month. So crushing it over there. It's pretty cool, man. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing how far you take this channel, because I have a feeling you're going to do really well.
Dude, I got that after shower like beard frizz.
Oh,
trying to get rid of it.
It's funny. I have a bunch of beard oils, but I hate the scented ones. So I'm always on the search for any that like have just zero scent. And I haven't found a good one yet, to be honest with you. And like, I don't know, the scents always just bother me. So
I'm the same way. I don't like the way it feels. I hate using it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I was getting ready to read, yeah. The Knowles and Andrew Wilson thing. It's like been a long running thing now, really. The actual like under meat of what makes up the issue going on. I'm not Catholic though, but I will say it does bother me as well too.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even know that they had a thing going on, but I looked into it a little bit when we added it to the outline, and it's definitely interesting. I might have to deep dive into it a little bit more. But what's up, Just Me? But yeah, we'll get right into that here in just a second here, Steve. We're gonna let some people filter in a little bit, and then we'll put our foot on the gas and let her rip. But we're gonna talk about, well, tonight we got we're gonna talk about the 2 major plane crashes in the last 48 hours. Vivek Ramaswamy's on a rehabilitation tour. Tucker Carlson and Pierce Morgan had a conversation. Steve Bannon has it, quote, "Conservatives are pussies." Kind of
Agreed.
yeah, agree. Kind of goes with the word a little bit, but I still tend to be. I'm still a conservative. I'm not a Democrat, that's for sure. But Andrew Wilson versus Michael Knowles. College Republicans at ASU set up a snitch portal. Trump cleans house on gender ideology. We might even get into Trump targeted ISIS with some bombing strikes today. So I mean, Trump is just full throttle, foot on the gas. I mean, I'd love to just see the guy's agenda just laid out one time. Just wake up at 4 a.m, bomb some people bomb ISIS by 5, call out some DEI shit by 6.
Get stuff done.
Just love to see how it all goes. Golf from noon to 2, make some deals, pass some tariffs in the process. It's the dude is a busy, high energy dude. I mean, it wears me out just thinking about how much he's getting done, but I'm here for it. I love it.
I saw a viral tweet that was like, what was Biden even doing his entire administration, just based on the fact that Trump's gotten like this much done in like 3-4 days? It's pretty funny.
Yeah, guys. Also, thank you, Dirty Money. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, subscribing to the channels, all that good stuff, and hit that Coke button. That's funny.
Yeah.
He means Coca-Cola. I actually got a Dr. Pepper here. Must have drank like 13 Dr. Peppers. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Looks like people are filtered in by now. So where's it at? There it is. I'll put it on screen. You want to lead us into it a little bit, because I think you know a little bit more about the background of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'll try to do my best to kind of explain this out here. Where we're at with this situation, right? We're going with Michael Knowles beef with Andrew Wilson. Ultimately, Rachel Wilson's involved. She's the wife of Andrew Wilson. But this has all been a battle, an inner battle among Christians, largely based around who this figure is, who's pictured here, which is Anala. She's a former OnlyFans porn star turned Christian. A lot of beef that kind of went with that too. Now I can see Splenda saying here that, saying that, Knowles is Catholic, Wilson's is Orthodox, and that you can see the point of view there too. I think a lot of people have this view. I think it's a battle of 2 big bases in this, which is, one, a lot of those ortho bros, people who are in the Andrew Wilson side of things, think that it's kind of dirty, kind of in not only just bad optics, but in bad faith to take this OnlyFans porn star at her word and immediately start promoting her as some kind of bastion of, any kind of ounce of promotion of Christianity, outside of the idea that, hey, where it's a good thing that she stopped doing OnlyFans, but it's kind of taken a bit stronger stride than where that is currently. So what the current situation is we have Michael Knowles now bringing Nala on for the second time, I believe this time with her husband on as well, doing a lot of this kind of promotion, doing this kind of simpery.
Took the internet the first time you came on. I got in so much trouble.
And
my mistake.
Oh, you're fine. And inside of this video too, they kind of even pull clips of what Andrew Wilson had said to her on the Whatever podcast. Now, the Sewing Circle Christians, anything Andrew says that goes beyond the guidance of, just be nice, well, that's a sign that Andrew Wilson's just like not that much of a Christian. So while we have Nala going on like Michael Knowles' show for the second time, what we don't have is an actual direct engagement between the disagreements that Michael Knowles has with Andrew Wilson. So that's what Andrew Wilson is taking issue with largely, as well as his wife too, but a lot of people in the community, which is now it seems that just shuffle all of the disagreements that people have with this into a corner and say, oh, it's just out of bad faith. These people are just disagreeing because they hate this girl and they just don't want her. They just want to hate on this girl. And all these kind of really low IQ, low hanging fruit kind of ways to dismiss things, where it even takes up a notch too, where you end up having in this promotion that I saw with Michael Knowles coming up for this video with Nala, taking like really small clips of Andrew Wilson saying stuff on the whatever podcast and trying to paint him in a light as if he is a really bad person, but doing all of this without actually directly engaging with him. Now, I think if anyone knows a bit about Andrew Wilson, this guy's a blood sport debater. And so you tried to take a blood sport debater, paint him out of context. You get into this situation where he is like, debate me. He's the definition of like, debate me. Like, if you don't like it, debate me. I'll be right here. But Knowles refuses, and it seemingly refuses to do so. So that brings us to this situation we are here currently. So there's so much to get into this. There's the specifics between the two pundits battling it out, but you also have the underlying disagreement, which is many people, especially like the Christian nationalist community and the ortho bros, the more stronger ones who are kind of under Andrew Wilson's wing, just outright saying, it's great that this woman did this, but she needs to do things that actually show she has truly repented of such. Now, a lot of people early on pointed out to the fact that she had not given back any of the money. She chose to just keep all of the money that she had. Not to even get too much into the specifics, but outright coming out and saying, well, I turned away from this because, you know, I did lie to these men. I did get involved in these people and these different, these marriages. I kind of did all this damage, but no, I'm going to keep all of the money. There's a lot to get into with that specifically, but more so the debate largely lies on the fact that people are like, okay, if she did repent, she needs to like not be in the spotlight, because the most prime time for someone to mislead people, like how she did on the whatever podcast, she had like a issue of like kind of articulating what the Trinity actually is. So it's seemingly that this person should spend some time away from the spotlight and actually learning and doing things where it's like, you're now living and walking the lifestyle. Like, you just came here. You shouldn't be at the forefront of what Christians should aspire to be. Now, some people argue that's not what they're trying to do, but now with her being on the Knowles show for like the second, third time now, what else could you actually, you know, paint this out to be besides a general promotion of who she is? And so that's just kind of a general sentiment what we have here.
Right.
So that first thing I did attach to the outline was a quote of Rachel Wilson quoting Andrew Wilson regarding the video that we have here on screen here. And so it'll give you a better idea just to see them explain it too.
Okay, cool. And I see Marcus Young says, man, the Daily Wire continues to take major L's. Yeah, that Brett Cooper thing as well. She did a little trailer video and it hit for 2.2 million views in like 24 hours. So she's going to be just fine over there. And I say over there, but on her own, I mean. And then Steve Splenda said Knowles needs to have the conversation with Wilson. I would love to see that because right now Andrew Wilson is on fire. Like, the dude is crushing it, especially like what we just showed last show where he was calling out Cenk Uygur. I think it was Cenk Uygur, Sink Uygur, Chunky Yogurt, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, Sink.
Good old Sink. And then just to piggyback a little bit, she definitely needs to, you don't get saved and then jump right into giving your testimony. You know what I mean? It's just to your point exactly, and to what Steve said, is that she needs to have a time of repentance and reflection and things like that. And as it says, when you're saved, you become like a baby in Christ. So she's basically a 2-month-old baby or whatever it is out there trying to tell people how to live as a Christian, or however it is from her perspective. I don't even pay her any attention, to be honest, but whatever it is, she's being platformed. And, it's one thing if you're reporting the story, OnlyFans girl finds Jesus. It's another thing if, you're doing multiple rounds of interviews. And it's funny because Matt Walsh, another person from the Daily Wire, basically just recently told Cenk Uygur to that he shouldn't be in the thought leader place if he's going to try to be doing this, this conversion, talking to MAGA and all this stuff. He really needs to get his ducks in a row before he's out here presenting himself as a thought leader. And it's like, well, I wish Michael Knowles would take advice from his coworker a little bit and kind of you know, but let's play this video. I actually remembered to remove the music in the background, so we don't have to worry about that for this one.
Perfect.
Really shook the internet the first time you came on. I got in so much trouble for talking to you.
I know you haven't. I appreciate that.
They say very nasty things about you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we know.
It's a lying, deceiving prostitute.
You said that you lied about everything. People were tagging me in it on social media, and they said, see, Michael, here's proof that she lied to you.
Oh, everything I've said on podcasts is complete clickbait.
Why do you think people want you to be lying?
That happened to her. I can't believe that it's real, because then that means I can change my ways and still get saved.
She was brought up in the church. Is this mental illness?
People have criticized you because they say, you made all this money. Where's the penance? They say you should give all your money away.
No. Her little pimp guy sitting next to her. I don't know who that guy is, to be honest with you, but
That's
really,
that's her husband.
Yep.
Oh, even worse.
Right. Right. Now, not that I'm saying it's bad that she's married, but I do think if I was a father of a boy, I mean, one of the last things I'm going to tell him is like, you should definitely marry a former porn star. And that just sets your son up for success. Even if you were to look at it from a secular standpoint, you would go, hey, we just look at the science here. That woman's ability to pair bond to you and love you and be involved with you is at such a low rate now that it's almost impossible to think that you're not going to have any kind of intimacy issues. But, ultimately it's good that, somebody was willing to take that on, I guess, if that's like the most optimistic way I can say that. But still, you run all this promo and all this, it's clearly done in a way to paint Andrew Wilson and anybody else who had criticism as like, they just want you to lie, don't you? They just really hate you, don't you? It's like, imagine doing all this when you could just tag the guy on X and have even some level of a cordial discussion about this, but refusing to. And so you should go to the Michael Knowles show, the tweet when this dropped this, because all of the comments are literally like, why will you not just debate Wilson on this? Why will you not give some level of ounce of credibility to what the disagreements may be? Well, the answer is pretty simple. This is that same kind of conservative stuff that Michael Knowles pushes. This kind of simpery that's just like, it's kind of baked into the cake to conservatism at this point. And then downstream from that, like you mentioned earlier, that's what ends up causing Steve Bannon to say things like conservatives are pussies, because that's just the front that we have. And so it's unfortunate, man. And I wish it wasn't that way, but there's some kind of incessant nature to this where they always are trying to keep at this. You can't be mean to women, like any ounce of being rude to women. And the thing is like calling her a prostitute is like the most base level neutral definition you could give for someone who took money for sexual acts. Right? I could call her a whore, and Andrew Wilson probably definitely did, but there's so much worse that you could say that you could be more pronounced with it. But to act as if like you repented and now I can't even say anything about what you were in your past, is just wild. That's just insane to me.
I 100% agree. Dodger 12 asks, is this the 100 dude chick? No, it's not the same one. I don't think that chick is repenting yet. I think she's actually set a new goal of going for 1,000 dudes, but whatever.
Yeah. That's a whole other situation.
Right. I'm seeing a lot of people calling Knowles a simp here in chat. Knowles is a simp, Mr. White said, and then I'm sorry, oh yeah, there it is. John Steve, was it Shepard? Okay, yeah, John Shepard spelled backwards. He said Knowles is a simp, plain and simple. He's doing the classic Captain Save a Ho routine. Before he started this, I liked him, but now I've lost all respect for the guy. Yeah, that's we're not going to agree 100% with what anybody does, but this one's in bad form, that's for sure, and it's definitely worth criticizing and making a decision like that to certain, on a certain level. So I don't disagree with you there.
Right.
What's up, Marble? Good to see you. Base Scotsman. Oh, he's LOL. Let's see here. Sorry, I chat was going a little fast for me. I didn't even realize. Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles are light years ahead of Andrew, and they're better debaters. Your boy Capone said. I don't know, man. I think if Michael Knowles is a better debater. He should sit down with Andrew Wilson. You know, I mean, I just I like Michael Knowles, to be honest with you. I think I actually just put out a video on him yesterday from one of my dailies, and so you know, I didn't know about this whole thing though, to be honest with you. So little bit of my opinion changed. Like I said, I won't judge, or I won't agree with everything everybody does, but I definitely think Andrew. I don't know if anybody can hold a candle to Andrew Wilson really right now. Andrew is he's on a mission.
Well, you know, just to pull it back a little bit, I think ultimately you get a lot of people are flocking to Andrew Wilson. You know, I believe the Crucible is now ranking pretty high in like the super chat rankings on YouTube. People are kind of flocking to him. That happens when you get a large abundance of young men who are both A, tired of being lied to, and B, tired of watching the entire conservative movement pander to women time and time again. Now it's the same thing with TPUSA, but Daily Wire is on a whole different level because they got other things that they have with controversy. And it's funny too, because two of their latest controversies have been their kind of executive corpo handling of what they've done with Candace Owens and Brett Cooper, who are two females. But with that being said, the reason why you see this take off, and I think the reason why these debates don't happen at these highest levels, is because they don't want to lend any credibility. They want to do the whole PR thing where it's like, if we just pretend Andrew Wilson's not there, well, we can just continue to pump this out as much as we can. And then everyone who sees the Andrew Wilson and crew who disagree, they can go, oh yeah, you guys just hate these people, because they never even got a chance to see a fleshed out argument. And then if all you do see is these cut up clips of Wilson saying that you're a whore, well, these pearl clutching females are going to be like, yeah, wow, he's pretty rude. Like, I definitely like Michael Knowles better. And it's like, of course you do, because he's going to be nice to you. But that's just not the way things are. And that's not what the disagreement is either.
Right. And then your boy Capone says Andrew is very extreme and in the shadows of Kirk and Michael Knowles. Well, I mean, Charlie Kirk doesn't really have anything to do with this topic, to be honest with you. And, you know, I think that might be a good debate. But as far as Michael Knowles and Andrew go, Andrew's been pretty steadfast from what I understand and from what I've seen. And, you know, Michael Knowles is stuck with the Daily Wire moniker. So Andrew Wilson can bring a lot of receipts and do a lot more damage than they can do to Andrew Wilson. And just my opinion, I think that, you know, you say Andrew is very extreme, but I think that's what we need right now. Christian men need to be strong and steadfast, and you might call it extreme. A lot of people might call it extreme, but if it's you know, written in the Bible and based, I call it just being real. We need more of that. We've seen historically a lot of bending to the point of where they break, and that leads us to all these slippery slopes that we've seen destroy our culture over the last 25 years. And, you know, it's time for Christian men to stand up and be like, no, that's wrong. It's not okay to be this or that. And you shouldn't be, I can call a whore. You know what I mean?
Right.
She did it to herself. Don't blame me and call me extreme when she's the one that was extreme, filming herself doing, you know, immoral things that should be called out, you know? So I don't know. I'm just to the point where if we don't become the strong men, we will certainly be the weak men that make hard times.
No, exactly. I think you're spot on there. I think an even better way to say it is like, some people have even kind of alluded to this in chat, but how Andrew approaches things, that used to be the base level, if not even worse. I mean, we used to literally burn women at the stake if they put potions together. That used to be like the baseline level of Christianity. Our tolerance for things like heresy, prostitution, anything that falls under those guidelines is being just morally corruptible, morally abominable, homosexuality, everything. I mean, Christians were outright either just like excising them from society or even worse than that, putting them to the death. Obviously, the Bible says these things as well. We've moved away from that too. We moved into a society where what we attempt to do most often is apply modern sensibilities to what the Bible says rather than vice versa. So what we do is we read the Bible and we go, man, that sounds pretty rough for today's day and age. And it's like, what does that matter? Like the Bible is what is true. Today's day and age is mostly of the flesh and of corrupted man. Like it is the downright lineage of the fall of man. Like it's going to continually get worse. It's going to be even more incestuous, ubiquitous, all the different ways that it can be more corrupted. And then you have these few and far between men like Andrew Wilson who come out of the woodwork and they start saying that. And they say, just, hey, no, that woman's a whore. Like she needs to not be promoted. Like, why is she on your show? Like this kind of stuff. I mean, it's the only reason why he's on the whatever podcast too, is because he's just trying to talk sense into just outright idiotic women. People hate that for some reason. Like they just their only paradigm is that's mean. And so it falls back to that famous meme, which is, hey, Jesus just told you to be vaguely nice, man, with no other kind of basic contextualization of such. And who cares if I read the Bible? Just be nice, man. Like this hippy dippy like version of Jesus. And so that's what's so challenging, is because you even have people who went to church for the past 10 to 12 years. And that's the message they got too, because it's extremely shallow. It's outright debased from what the roots of the stories are. And so next thing you know, this guy's been going to church for 12 years, but he's only heard the same 7 sermons just spun 8 different ways. And that's the big downfall of what I see in a lot of Christian stuff, is refusing to cover things wholly, contextually, the history, point at different church fathers. They just look at the first 4 books of the Bible, which are the gospel, which are worthy, but they act as if those are detached and separate and on some superior level than whatever else is being taught. And that's how you end up getting a lot of the problems that we have and what we see nowadays, especially in Christianity.
Correct. And I see Andrea made sure that Just Me set her comments to newest first. And that's a reminder, you guys. I saw Just Me actually mentioned it earlier too. The default is top messages. So if you change your settings there, it'll you won't be missing any of the chat, but it's become a running thing here on the channel.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Missing all the chats from people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. So yeah, I scrolled some of the comments under the post here. Turning prostitutes into devout Christians is a major pillar of the modern Protestant church. This is a notch for his brand that he won't give up without a fight. And then Rachel Wilson, is that Andrew Wilson's wife?
Yeah. So this is her quote tweet, actually. I think if you scroll up, this should be the she's quoting Wilson, because I think Wilson directly quoted the show when the show dropped on X.
Okay. Well, she was just responding to that one comment right there in this one, I think. But she says he is supposed to be a Catholic, talking about Michael Knowles. Last I checked, they don't believe in non-denominational born-again stuff. Nobody has a problem with her quitting porn. Everybody agrees that it's a good thing. Do you know how many people I've had in my comments accusing me of saying she can't be saved? That is something neither Andrew or I would ever say and never said. It's bananas. And so, yeah, that's something I agree with. I'm going to give her a follow too. Let's see. And you said if I do what now? I can.
Yes, if you scroll up to the top just here, because so she's quoting Andrew. This was Andrew's response to seeing this video drop today.
Okay, this was her actual post, and then she actually led that. Okay, I see. There were multiple deceptively edited clips of both me and Paleo. Okay, that's Andrew Wilson. I didn't even know he was on X. I never see him on there. Conversations with her circulating on TikTok and YouTube, but for some reason, only Nala is offered a chance to defend herself while we are painted wrongly as hateful. Why is that? Yeah, I mean, they want to platform Nala and not have the conversation with Rachel and Andrew Wilson. I mean, that's pretty shameful. It's definitely worth calling out and saying and asking the question why. Oh, I see Dodger gave $5. Man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. We at least are back to 2 genders, and that's a good start. Yeah, 100%. It's a damn shame that it takes a presidential decree. What do you think? You had to sign an executive order over it, but at least
one step at a time.
One step at a time, getting back to normal, right? You can even call normal nowadays, I think. But certainly appreciate the $5 Dodger. That's awesome of you.
Well, one thing I would say too is people were saying, what won't these guys do for clicks? And now at the same time, I also think, would that not get clicks? Would Andrew Wilson debating one of the Daily Wire bros not get clicks? Like, I would listen to
I'm
that.
way more interested. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm way more interested. I'm excited to see that. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to answer your question. I would love to see that. I'd be able to make multiple videos of it, and I would just love seeing the conversation. I mean, I think we need more Christian on Christian debates like this. You know, it's our time for revival, or we lose society, we lose culture. And so, I mean, we need the clash of the Titans 100%.
No, I'm the same exact way, dude. I'd have it queued up. I'd be listening to it tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It would probably, I mean, depending on where they posted it, if it was on Michael Knowles' channel, actually, if it was on Michael Knowles' channel or Andrew Wilson's channel, or if they both did it on their own simulcast or whatever, millions of views. There'd be tons of people covering it, clipping it. You know, even to say what your boy Capone was mentioning, if Charlie Kirk got involved, that would be as interesting too. I'd love to see Andrew debate Charlie Kirk, you know, instead of just being in a little circle jerk of here, let's all kumbaya, you know. I'd love to see the battle, you know, like I said a minute ago, the clash of the Titans. I think it would be healthy for the space. And, you know, that's the funny thing about that too, is the Daily Wire is not like afraid to have a controversy, not afraid of conflict or whatever, but it's really weird that they won't have the conversation with Andrew Wilson. You know, he's willing to do it. And dude's debating somebody new live on the Crucible channel, like daily, multiple times a week.
I know, it's just I have a couple ideas that, you know, thoughts of like why I think it's like this too, but ultimately I think it does fall into a smaller category of not wanting to offend people. Obviously, Andrew is offensive to people. You know, you mentioned his name. It's like you just said Hooga Beluga and the Boogeyman's coming out. So to them, I think the Daily Wires maybe position themselves in a way where they just have a very female audience as well. Maybe it's like a good positioning of female. And maybe Michael Knowles in particular has a larger female audience. So who knows how much his channel may take a loss if he has Andrew on and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying there. Like, and he starts agreeing, and then people would start losing their minds too. Because to a lot of these evangelical sewing circle Christians, there's like this big, massive gap between real Christians and like what Andrew Wilson does. So they maybe kind of like do some estimations and say, hey, even if we do have this and we come on, like you might lose 7 to 10% of your audience because like they hate Andrew Wilson and anything that you do that, you know, even halfway can agree or find a compromisable position with him is going to be enough that it's going to send these crazy Catwomen like all off edge and you're going to lose audience. So maybe it's something along those lines, but I think that's how they operate their whole stick. I mean, Matt Walsh is maybe the only one that even kind of doesn't fit into that, but even sometimes he still refuses to like bring on like the real kind of edginess to it and take it a little bit too far over the notch. So it's a lot of playing safe, but I imagine it's because this company is so dead set on making sure they don't lose any money.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like how you explained it earlier with the church. They have like 7 different sermons, but you know, you hear 7 different sermons over 6 years, but you've been asked for money daily, weekly for 7 years. You know what I mean? That's a kind of a microcosm. They're over there at the Daily Wire,
right? That's just
I like what Mr. White said right here. Like Charlie has some good takes, but they don't want to be challenged by those on the right that take a harder stance. They want to other us, right? They just want to milk toast fence. And, you know, even Ben Shapiro, he's his favorite country is not the United States, in my opinion. So I mean, there's that aspect to it too, without getting like into the details. But you know, he was wrong about so many things over the past 4 years. Trying to be real cautious, but you know, I mean, his take on the poke, well, a lot of things, you know what I mean. And he's one of the the high ups. I mean, he's not Jeremy Boring, but he's in my opinion, he's like number 2 over there. And so I don't think they want to have that hard Christian stance. That's why Candace got fired. And you know, it's
yeah.
Anytime anybody wants to challenge them on that, they back away from it. That's, you know, I hesitate to say that Steven Crowder is more, you know, godly than they are, but because it sounds weird to say, but that might actually even be the possibility of it too. You know, if you factor if Gerald is involved in the conversation there from Steven Crowder's show, I mean, Daily Wire is probably not going to want to have that conversation.
Yeah, well, you know, even a smaller note.
I haven't put the electric fence up yet, man, but I'm probably going to do it tomorrow.
With even the on a smaller note too, there was I believe she had it restored like yesterday, but Brett Cooper like all of a sudden lost access to her TikTok. So people immediately were like, did the Daily Wire just take that from her too? They're like, was that in your contract? I mean, you know, the quartering and all the other kind of drama culture channels was like just asking her. I don't think anybody got an answer. But it seems that TikTok actually restored their access on the back end and then just gave it back to Brett. But she posted about that, and so she seemingly seemed surprised about that as well. But again, I think where we are right now, most people are sick and tired of the Daily Wire. They did this whole big front to be the leaders of conservatism, only to ultimately, like House had pointed out here earlier, they either only debate college-age liberals who are just idiots and like don't know what they're talking about, but refuse to have full-on in-depth discussions with anybody who could possibly be to the right of them. So what they've essentially done is wedge themselves in as gatekeepers. So all of your mainstream normie kind of conservative individuals, they just view the Daily Wire opinion as like the most supreme. But ultimately they view that because they're the biggest industry boy now, you know, even bigger than Fox News. I think they have a bit more dominant reign over like social media as well. And it's just just me, since I feel like Superior is controlled opposition. Many people feel that way and worse.
Yeah.
And they only constantly have these bad optics where everyone can see it, especially when you do have the free speech platform like X, which I would argue is not that free speech, but anyways, it's still a lot more transparent, and a lot more right wingers have kind of flocked to it based on the ease of restrictions we've had in the past, and we all kind of are getting tired of it. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I would hope and take Michael Knowles in the best faith that he would, at the outrage and outcry of many people, would at least sit down with Wilson, even if it was for 40 minutes, even if it was for some short amount of time. It doesn't even have to be on anyone's show. They can just have some kind of weird stream together, but at least hash these things out. But to continue with that tried and true method of ignoring everyone who disagrees with you, it's just not going to fly for too long.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate because, man, that'd be great. Like, it's just going back to the well saying that, but gosh, when I read this in the outline, Andrew Wilson versus Michael Knowles, I'm like, oh, that would be epic.
Right.
I have a respect for both of the guys. You know what I mean? I really do. And I think that those conversations should happen, a lot more of them than just those two guys. But right now, I'm thinking Michael or Andrew Wilson is taking the boldest stance out of everyone so far. And he's not like, and he's not coming from a place like, what's his name? Culver Tate, Andrew Tate, you know?
Yeah. Well,
where he's out there
people
saying,
didn't like Andrew.
He's more masculine and this and that, but then you look at his history and it's kind of like, man, bro, like.
Yeah, that's the reason, and that's what you get. So, reason Andrew Tate is as popular. Like, he is a symptom of the fact that Christian men choose to not be manly. He is an outright symptom of that, because the church, its affiliates, and those who speak for it continually choose to be simps and big cucks and white knights that men said this isn't the way. And so when there's nothing in between there, it's be this weirdo Michael Knowles. Like, Michael Knowles starred in a gay film when he was younger. Like, I don't know about you, but not that most of my straight friends have never been in a homosexual film.
For real.
And then you have on the other side is Andrew Tate. Young men who may not even be at all into Christianity whatsoever, say it's just from a secular, they just look up and they go, would I rather be like this simp, or would I rather be like Andrew Tate? And if you look at it from the most basic pragmatic sense, most men will choose to follow in the footsteps of Andrew Tate. They want to make fun of these, these large women who think they're tens. They want to be masculine. They want to have money. They want to be able to provide. They want to feel like the man. They want nice cars. They don't want to sit down with porn stars and just glow over them, right? Like, that's just not what men want. And so this void of masculinity that Christian men, as well as the church and everyone in between and all the ecclesiastical foundations, choose not to put a good example forward. That's why you get Andrew Tate.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me, sorry, that cough snuck up on me. But House Leotardo says the best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves. Vladimir Lenin. Yep. Gotta look out.
Yeah, well, I heard this framed too from someone else. So, not that I'm trying to steal it, but I thought it was a great way to say this. Who do most people even think the deep state is? Like, when you think of the deep state, right? The deep state is clearly this power in the shadows. This, you can give it any attachment, really. But do you think the deep state is just this thing that only operates at the highest level, and they don't have any lower amount of tiers or operatives or people they may have blackmail on? It's just like, that's just an unrealistic way to look at it, especially when we know with what happened with Jeffrey Epstein and the like.
And Diddy
as well.
Right.
There are so many levels to this, and we know only so much. And and seemingly every time that we have a chance to learn about it, oh, redacted, oh, here's why you have to wait 30 days to see files that should be public record, oh, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
As well as with Project Mockingbird as well, with the CIA infiltration into news media, especially newspapers and such, and news outlets. To me, I would imagine that we're at the stage where they definitely get their hands on people early on, they groom them into positions, and they end up being the ones who support them with large amounts of money and finances as well. So to look at all of this landscape, from Andrew Wilson to the Daily Wire to MSNBC, and not be like, I bet nobody from the deep state's here. It's just a wild take. Like, somebody's definitely in on the take. And if you look at what the goal is, right? If we look at even a basic goal of what the deep state, what I would argue is a goal, is they want to reduce human population. Okay. Well, if Andrew Wilson argues on things like birth rates and men being men and starting families and not being with porn stars and the like, but the Daily Wire is arguing for men should have it in their hearts for these women, these OnlyFans stars. Okay, one of those is going to lead to men getting married, one of them's not.
Right.
If you look at it from the most basic sense, I would wager that somebody, if not everybody, from the Daily Wire is some level of groomed or a part of a deep state operation, whether it's knowingly and they're fully on the inside, or that they were groomed to hold these positions and then act as this wedge. There's some level of this that I would wager is at play.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. White says, about to go watch Rachel Wilson do a debate. Good coverage, guys. Have a good rest of your nights.
Take care, Mr. White.
Thanks for stopping in. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe, all that good stuff. But I appreciate you being here and being a part of the conversation. Look forward to having you join us again, definitely. And have a good night yourself. But I want to go back to a comment from John. TPUSA and Daily Wire are the big tent conservative movement that makes concessions for secular views far too often, and they never should. That kind of just reminds me that, everybody kind of has their place in Christianity and in the cultural movements and things like that. And they might be more milquetoast, trying to cast a wide net and see what they can bring in. And then there's the next level. You know what I mean? When you're like, I want to ramp this up. I want to be better. I want to, you know, challenge myself, and iron sharpens iron. And I think that's where Andrew Wilson kind of comes in. And so you might have to kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like how I relate to church. When you go to a Sunday service, that is like the basic. If you really want something out of it, you got to plug into the community. You got to join small groups, and you have to have a lot more one-on-one interaction with people. And that's where you actually learn the most and grow, and you dig into and past, you know, what the Sunday sermon is, which is trying to catch the new person and save their soul. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
there's different layers and levels to it, and you got to really apply yourself if you want to get the most out of it. And I think Andrew Wilson is like how I related that. And then LOL Marble mentioned that porn sells, and it truly does. You know, that's why Budweiser has had the Budweiser girls, and you know, you don't need all the examples, but my point is the fact that the Daily Wires they sell themselves to us as this particular product, and then they bring this type of thing in. It's not so wholesome. You know what I mean? And broaching the topic, you know, people are going to be like, oh, who is this chick? And then they're going to go look for the stuff that she made. And that's just the reality of it. Not everyone, but there are going to be those. And so indirectly, Michael Knowles and the Daily Wire are promoting her porn background to some of their own audience. And that's that's basically a millstone.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also got to think about it like this too. I had attached Calendar Gate 2.0 to one of our last outlines. We didn't end up getting to it.
Yeah, we didn't. It was in 2 outlines in a row. We just never got to it.
Well, the reality is like the conservative movement just like isn't that. It's really not.
Right.
I mean, it's wild to me because people are celebrating this like this so base, and it's a step forward. But we're looking at it was like we went from the LGBT to like Trump got rid of the T, and then like Nick Sortor's like, man, that's so base, and it's like, dude, we got one letter off. We got the most basic one. That's like anyone who ever knew a thing about basic biology is like that was the most delusional thing ever. But to uphold it as in like we're not going to do anything towards the LGB, it's like it's incrementalism at best. But at the same time, we go, hey, there's certain things that the conservative movement has seemingly compromised on forever, and they just won't look at it any other way. And part of that is the way that women are operative in the movement. But the second thing would be like when you attach things like homosexuality, you'll even have Charlie Kirk and the TPUSA movement don't go in and be like, well, you know, so on and so forth. We'll go ahead and be like, all right, we'll handle homosexuality. No, it's like the Christian position is like repent and stop acting like this. Like stop the homosexual behavior.
Right.
The more that you bring these people in, the more you have to expect that things will not be conservative. There's only so much homosexuality you can absorb before ultimately the movement, you will have the appearance of and exude things such as homosexual tendencies. And that goes the same thing with what we saw with Conservative Gate or Calendar Gate 2.0, which is you have this guy who wanted to compete with Bud Light during the period when Dylan Mulvaney had did the, I can't remember what the commercial was, but she did the really bad, or he did the commercial. Everybody hated it. Seth Weathers comes onto the scene with that dad beer. It's like MAGA Light or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. Guy's awful. He makes a calendar now 2 years in a row. This second one even being way worse. I believe at one point his opening post for it had 1.4 million views and had less than 500 likes on it. And the very first page in this calendar is him standing there with the girl wearing like MAGA gear with like side boob and like barely anything on. So she's wearing an apron and then like naked underneath that. Mm-hmm. But he calls it the conservative dad beer. This is the conservative dad calendar. And it's like, really? It's like conservative in what way? Like this is like the libertarian, liberal, neocon, like non-Christian calendar. Like this isn't conservative by any means, but we've kind of accepted at some base level that conservative just means reactionary, like we hate the left. And so if it only is operative in the sense of it's reactionary to what the left does, and not that it has a base formation of Christian values, then he's right. But I disagree on the whole sense that no, to be conservative requires the Christianity involved too. But that's why you see people just like arguing so much. And even that, when the first version of it, that caused a huge stir. And that's where you saw a big separation of like the new right versus the old right, which is a lot of the new right people see a chance that if we get Trump in, we can begin pushing things back in the other direction with Christianity, like Bryson Gray and Sovereign Brawl and all the younger influencer guys. But the pushback comes from those who are in the conservative movement who are entirely chained to fifth, fourth, and third wave feminism, and they won't see anything any other way.
I saw Dirty Money asked the question. Let me go back up here and said, so they fired Candace and Brett and are hiring a past OnlyFans model. No, they're not hiring her, but they're platforming her for the second time. And in the process, Michael Knowles is refusing to have a conversation with Andrew Wilson over this, who historically calls out these OnlyFans chicks and calls them hoes and stuff like whores and stuff like that. So, but it's a good question because it makes me wonder what the future might hold for this woman at the Daily Wire. If they platform her twice, it gets millions of views each time. I think that would possibly be on the agenda to see if they could get her on the shows more regularly, or a spot of her own, something like that, right? Maybe have her be interviewed by Matt Walsh, or have her join like a roundtable thing, or go be talked to, or have a conversation with Ben Shapiro, or all of the above. That's kind of the point too, is that the Daily Wire is opening the door, and I just don't think they should be. You know what I mean? It's one thing, like I said earlier on, reporting on the topic, but then giving her the platform and allowing her to be a thought leader in the space is definitely way out of bounds.
Yeah. This recently converted porn star. Yeah. Now here's my professional opinion of what I think about these Christian conservative right wingers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, what are we talking about here? Like what? And my thing is, just from that 40-second promo, you can clearly see the bias that's being painted, like just in that already, which is he's clearly willing to hear her side out and be like, man, these people just wanted to paint you out as a bad person. Like you can't be saved and you're a liar. Like, wow, that's crazy. It's so bogus.
Right. And Steve says it well. And Steve says it really well here. He says, I think the attention is coming from the idea that the former porn star supposedly repented, but is now taking the spotlight from now taking the spotlight from porn to now born again Christianity without proper time to repent and fully understand the faith she's now promoting because she was exposed for having poor epistemology. Did I say the epistemology right? I don't know. It sounds right. Epistemology. Oh yeah, I can't even try to do it now.
Yeah, epistemology. Well, that's what caused the big debacle in the first place. Was Andrew Wilson asked her point blank, explain the Trinity to me, and then she struggled to say it, and ultimately, outright. And I can't remember verbatim what she said, but I think she made a mistake, then went back and corrected it. But she ultimately made some kind of bogus statement about how Jesus isn't God. And so that's clearly that's heretical, right? Like we all understand that there's three different parts, but Jesus is God.
Yes.
Highlighting the fact that she should be in no position to be speaking even as a born again Christian. Like I'm now this new person in the faith. And ultimately that idea does come from if you have repented, that's great. That's awesome. Take your OnlyFans down, whatever, and then disappear for a while.
Yeah.
Sit back, learn from people who have been walking the walk for some time, really hear and understand and listen. But
and that's if you're not going to donate your money, you know what I mean? Which that's a tough thing. You know what I mean? I get that part, but
especially when she's on podcasts bragging about how many married men that she had slept with, how many married men she had gotten to donate to her. So this is somebody who has done insane amounts of damages to marriages.
Right.
Incredible. I mean, most people can only really damage one, and it's the one that they're in. But she ultimately got involved in many people's marriages and put herself as a stumbling block for a lot of people. But when you look a bit deeper on the surface, what you'll find is a lot of these girls who lead these small following accounts, like 50 to 100,000 followers on X, who also claim the born again Christian stuff. You look at their past and it's like, wait a minute, this girl was also 1 year ago in the OnlyFans business. This girl 1 year ago was this crazy liberal feminazi. And now you're supposed to be giving men and women lessons on feminism and Christianity and biblical patriarchy. It's like, I don't think so. Like, in no way on this planet could I, even on a pragmatic sense, give you a benefit of the doubt that you could give a reasoned and logical explanation of biblical patriarchy when you're less than 12 months removed from selling your soul online for clicks, likes, and money. No way. And and most men see that. Most men, you could be a 17-year-old guy and you see that, like, you know that. But these gatekeepers and the sewing circle Christians, they refuse to hear anything but. All they can hear when you say, hey, wait a minute, they go, wow, you hate this girl? What, are you gay? It's like their go-to thing to go for that too. It's this extremely toxic environment around the discussion.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I was going to say Infected Mushroom. He mentioned, or maybe she, I was raised Catholic and I have a hard time understanding the Trinity. Yeah, and that's a lot. That's one of the reasons why I have a big problem with the Catholic religion. I believe that part of their, rituals breaks at least 2 of the 10 commandments. So, praying to the Virgin Mary and asking the saints and things like that. That's putting idols before God, and putting other gods before God, stuff like that. And so I have a big issue with that, but I challenge you definitely to look into the Trinity more. We do have a section in the Discord if you wanted to click the link down in the description where we share Christian stuff and be happy to answer any of those types of questions in there and stuff like that as well. We even have a voice chat area where we can get into it, not live and not have to worry about the filters or, anything like that. And, anyway, just wanted to throw that out there for you for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but here's the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, here's the other thing about this OnlyFans chick. What if she goes back to doing it in a couple months? What if she just, people backslide in life? You know what I mean? What if she's just faking it? What if she has a legit backslide, and goes back into doing OnlyFans stuff? What is that going to make the Daily Wire and Michael Knowles and all these people look like? It's a bad move for them to platform her so much and so quickly.
Yeah, well, if she had about recidivism, imagine how many young girls who may be in the Christian faith who have been looking at her because they're like, oh, I heard about this girl on the Daily Wire. Like, wow, can't believe all these people hit it on her. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, I wonder if Knowles posted anything about Christianity. And they go look at her page and it's back to being fully stocked with OnlyFans images and such. So the recidivism is always a chance. But again, that could also be for anybody too. The big thing though is like she's now in a huge public spotlight. So now it's the clout for this girl is rising, and everyone's having a hand in it. And what would have been the best choice has been all the Christian organizations, if Daily Wire you can even consider them that, would have been like, hey, that's great. Like, not invite you for a 2-hour segment, because let's listen to this. When's the last time Rachel Wilson got a segment on a Daily Wire show?
Who is that?
When have they invited? Right. So this is Andrew Wilson's wife, who's been doing a lot of stuff for Christianity, especially from a female side.
And
she wrote a book on
occult. Right.
Yeah, and she wrote a book on occult feminism that highlighted a lot of really good things about the origins of feminism, and specifically the ties to occultism and witchcraft and such. Where's her segment on the Daily Wire? They don't have one. So again, it brings into question what are the true motives with the Daily Wire and why they are doing such. But the one thing I did want to say with the Trinity as well, when you look into the specifics of it, and I am no church father at all, it is one of the harder things to grasp, especially for someone who has never looked into Christianity at all before. So that's something that even church fathers spend a lot of their years ensuring that they have a very holistic understanding of such and can be able to answer any and all questions on that when it comes to that. That's why it's, again, this woman should be in no place to teach. That's why you leave it up to the teachers. And then take it even one step further. As Paul says in First Timothy, or I believe it's First Timothy or Second Timothy. It could be wrong. Forgive me. Correct me if I am wrong. Women shall not teach. I shall. He says that he actually says, I will not suffer a woman teaching. Like he is very out. He's very overt and obvious for what he means by that, which is, I will not suffer through a woman teaching. It is not a woman's place to teach on the lessons of Jesus Christ. There are smaller positions in which women can fulfill when it comes to leading the hands of other women. But the Bible is extremely clear over who should be taking those roles of leadership in the church to be able to lead others. And so if you wanted to take it even a step further, she shouldn't be looked to at all for any kind of advice on Christianity. Maybe she can say some cool things, yeah, but the right response would be like, well, yeah, you heard it from her. Definitely go and listen to someone else on that. Go listen to Father Josiah Trenham on that. Go double check that with someone else that is a man that is in the faith, because that's what the way that it was written, and that's the way that it should be followed. Anything else is a pick and choose, and you treat the Bible like it's a Chinese buffet. You go, yeah, I like this, but man, what that Paul guy said in these couple bits of verses, like, I don't agree with that. Skip over it. Okay, you over here, because you just can't do that. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
I agree. I got to zoom my camera in on me. You're making me look small.
I'm sorry.
I'm just teasing.
I'm almost like too big. I need to like scoot my chair back.
Just teasing. But he infected mushrooms, then followed him and said, "What is the Holy Ghost?" Basically, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the spirit of Jesus remained on this earth after he was crucified, right? But it's always been there as well. I don't know. When I try to say it out loud, maybe I'm not interpreting it right, but I feel like I have a good understanding of it myself. So I don't want to be wrong, but it's definitely.
Well, that's why I'd say even us, like both of us, right? Like we're both Christians, but I definitely wouldn't argue in any way or with reason that like we're teachers of Christianity. Like we can be examples of what it's like to be Christian men, but in no way is it like, should you be looking to us? Like you should be looking at the people who have done their time, who have been in it. And even a lot of the people who have done their time and been in the word and they pray for hours at a day. They've been involved in the church. They teach, they learn all the time. And not even just reading the Bible. I'm talking about people who go the distance to read things like the Dead Sea Scrolls and all of these more artifactual and relic type stuff, having this super long understanding. They could tell you what Thomas Aquinas said about this. Just offhand, they know it like that. Those are the people who you should go and be learning from. The actual wizards of this, not from Nala, the OnlyFans star who turned a couple of days. I mean, sure, we can have a good few hits here and there. World can say something that's pretty basic and be like, oh yeah, I never thought about that before. But when it comes to actually getting the actual fruitly spiritual nourishment, like that, it's got to be sought out from an actual strong and built up organization. Now, I will say there is not that much to go to here in America when half of these churches have pride flags and female pastors. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is here in America. But there are places you can go. There's plenty of digital places, such as people like Joel Webba and Stone Choir. There's many different podcasts you can go to where men seek out and spend hours to make sure that they can lay things out in a way people can understand. And definitely what Titan said, you can learn from your Bible as well.
Definitely. And thanks, John. Appreciate you shouting us out in the Crucible live chat right now. That's dope, man. I appreciate you doing that. Welcome anybody in that's checking this out from over there. But let's see here. Nice to see you there, Titan, by the way. Haven't seen you in the Discord for a little bit, but it's good to see you there, bud. And then let's see. Yeah, you can learn from your Bible as well. You definitely should be learning from your Bible. And that's something that I mentioned it last time. I want to try to actually read or listen to the entire Bible this year. And I need to start just setting out, a good 15, 20 minutes every morning when I wake up and just let it play from the Bible app is what I usually do.
Yeah.
Chris says our churches have been infiltrated by evil. Definitely. I mean, we saw with the activist bishop just the other day. I
stepped it up. I got myself a study Bible. So not only am I going to be reading the Bible, but all the notes that come with it as well.
Nice. That's
I
awesome.
recommend that to anybody too.
I expect to see some wear on that. Not some tear, but some wear on that over the year.
I know it looks too new still.
Maybe the shine. will wear
Headbands
off.
and ridges on it. Yeah.
And
Not
Steve
dust,
says,
just dirt.
agreed. It's not to diminish women, but women's ontology is not to be pastors. Sorry, Chad is moving on me. They have a beautiful role God has given them. 100% love women.
Right.
But you don't want to come off as being misogynist. You know, that's what the left wants to label us is everything. You know, that's the newest ist they've added to the list.
Well, I mean, then that's part of the work that's been done. Part of the damage that's been done is the amount of propaganda that's gone into convincing women that they should do everything but the role that God laid out for them. This kind of connotation and stigma that if you're a stay-at-home mom, you've somehow like failed in life. You somehow like aren't living up to your fullest potential. And
Right.
it's really unfortunate because I know a lot of guys in my personal life, as well as seeing all the internet examples too that add on to it as well, of men whose marriages and families and have been taken from their children because a woman just had to find herself. Because the buildup of the propaganda machine there is that they do this thing, whether it's through Instagram, FOMO, whatever device that's being used, they ultimately fall victim to they're missing out on something and they'll straight up destroy their families in search of riding some other guy or wanting to get some other job. And you find these weird situations where a woman will like at the ready, like if a boss tells her like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. Like, I can't stand when you're doing that. She's like, oh yeah, definitely. Yes, sir. She comes home to her husband and her husband's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? She's like, I'm not doing that for you. So there's this inversion of all these roles and this kind of perversion of it too. It's led to a lot of men outright, unaliving themselves, but at worst, or a little bit better than that, is they're not in their children's lives anymore. These things get destroyed, then it's left up to family court to decide for them. The government steps in. Here's when you can see your kids. Here, guy I just met 3 days ago, I'm judge whatever, and in this 1 hour conversation here today, I'm going to decide how the next 17 years of your life's going to go based on your relationship with your kid and what I heard from the lawyer. It's just super unfortunate. And so we got to find a way to stop that messaging and stop that messaging from being the most receptive messaging that girls get it back to, why wouldn't a woman want to stay at home and with her children all day, every day? Like, why would a woman want to go work and push emails online all day? How did we get to the point where that became the more,
and have
I want to
somebody
go and
else
do that.
raise their baby, raise
Right.
their kid, their
Right.
teen.
Instead of the daycare system or an iPad doing it.
Right. Evil Elmo says, I'm not going to judge the OnlyFans girl thing. I just have noticed that, excuse me, I just have noticed that a lot of people are turning towards God lately. And I've seen it too. And I think that our country, maybe the world, is having a revival of sorts. And that's something that we need to continue to pray for. But it says that that'll happen in the end days. More people will come to Jesus before it ends. So, let's see here. I wanted to address this question too. Infected Mushroom said, so the Holy Ghost has nothing to do with the soul. No, I don't. It's not a soul, but people can correct me if I'm wrong in chat, but when Jesus died on the cross, he then went to be at the side of God in heaven. And his soul, not his soul, but the spirit of Jesus remained on earth to assist us, to aid us, essentially. And so it wasn't. And so that's basically what it is. They're all one and the same. Like it even says in Genesis that the word, like when God created the earth, the word was with me and the word was beside me, or something like that.
And the word
And the what?
I believe it ends with the word was me.
The word was me. And basically the way I interpreted it just recently was the word was actually Jesus. So Jesus has been there at God's side since the beginning. Then he became flesh, died on the cross for our sins, to sum it up. And then the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, remained on earth as Jesus went back to be with God at God's side.
Yeah, it's super complex thing. That's why, you can definitely find Josiah Trenholm is one of the first people I can think of off the top of my head where you can go straight up and just look. You can obviously read your Bibles and try to get a good understanding, interpretation from it there too. But if you want to see somebody like explaining it out, Josiah Trenholm probably has something that's on the Trinity, as well as there's plenty of good, resources from YouTube. Now, what you will get is conflictual stuff, like what we had talked about earlier. Like there's a sect of Christianity that call themselves the iconoclasts. And so what they take very seriously is the iconography. So iconoclasts actually think any depiction of Jesus is heretical or immoral or sinful. So they would even argue, Protestants, Orthodox, and Catholics, any kind of depiction of Jesus is too far, because anything that you have done has painted him in your image. Like you've taken him and painted him in your image. So they have kind of even arguments about the iconography of it. But this is all very like in-depth, contextualized, niche kind of arguments that will change based on what denomination you're in, because obviously the hierarchy of values changes depending on where you're at too. So that's why I would encourage, not only do you read your Bible, but also look to the resources from all the different sources, especially if you aren't denominational. You'd want to give every single one of them a glance to get an idea of where they are and where they kind of sit and what the most kind of front-facing ideals that they have are.
Right. See here, look how much time America First is spending on her. Oh, yeah, just the culture, America First culture is spending on. Yeah, it's true. And then Shauna says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, thank you for the clarification. And the way I interpreted that was that the Word was actually, he was talking about, was Jesus. We believe this awakening. Oops, sorry, I wanted to go that one. Dirty Money says, we believe this awakening perspective that's occurring right now. The child will want to understand who they are. Their masculine energy will be confusing and perverted by the man of the house role. Yeah. And Just Me says, the Holy Spirit is literally a helper and an intercessor that lives inside of us, and he's part of God's hand. God's head, sorry. He intercedes on our behalf to God. He also leads us and stirs our hearts and souls. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it, and like Atlas said, depending on how it's interpreted to you and your interpretation, there's some differing opinions, but that's how I see it,
Right. Yeah. Well, the longer I've been in this, the more I've saw that there is so much different proliferation. Even growing up, I thought it was pretty simple, right? It's like Protestants versus Catholics. Protestants think those Catholics, so those crazy guys over there with the weird dresses and all this kind of stuff. And then I didn't even know the Orthodox Church existed until I was a lot older. And then I began realizing, oh, wait, there's actually these different sects. And you learn into the history of it too. And then you get red pilled on the Crusades, and you're like, wait a minute, my whole history class was based on how the Christians are really bad during this period. And then you come to find out that for 400 years leading up to the Crusades, they were just sitting there and taking it from the jihad and the Muslims at the time, the Islamics. And then they finally were like, we're going to get wiped out if we don't do something. There's just so much in depth there. And a lot of this is purposeful too. I think if a lot of people had such a strong foundation of Christianity, well, we probably wouldn't be tolerating as much, bullshit that we see in today's society. If everyone had this very strong understanding, and you didn't have all of these weird, twink pastors doing everything they can to pervert the youth, we'd probably be in a better situation. So understand, it's not anyone's fault that they don't have the strongest understanding of Jesus and the Christianity and the faith as a whole. It's, you should understand that I should know more. I am a sinner. I am an idiot and a retard. But at the same time, know that there are forces at work that are doing everything they can to make sure that you're not seeing that happen, that you're not getting that understanding, because they want that to be the case. Obviously, evil reigns here on earth. Like, the Satan is here. Like, this is his domain. Earth is. And so everything that happens that follows these paths comes from that paradigm of good versus evil. So there's so much to it. Obviously, I'm not a pastor, but the more I've gotten into it, I can tell you, the more I've been like obsessed with it. almost some people would say an unhealthy obsession. But the deeper I go, it's just how I've arrived at the position of me wanting to be a Christian nationalist for this nation. And that kind of shapes my politics because I am God above policy. So I would, I'm somebody who says, God's word should reign over the Constitution. God's word should reign over many things that are over here, so I throw a lot of man's word aside to put the Bible ahead of it. And that's where I come from.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, I'm scrolling up. I don't see your chat. My eyes might just be jumping over it, but I don't see it. It's the Spirit of God.
No, I know I'm a retard. Damn. Forgive me, Lord, for I'm evil and retarded. It's like my favorite meme.
I'm wise enough to know that I am remedial.
Right. Well, like Donnie says all the time, like the smartest thing that you can say, and I agree with this too. The smartest thing anyone could say is go, I don't know everything. Like I just don't know everything. World's too big, too complex, too specialized, too all-encompassing for anyone to ever say, I know everything. And you got to think, some of the smartest people of all time spent their entire lives dedicated to solving something like a light bulb. Like it took them 50, 60 years to be like, okay, and I can make electricity go from this point to this point. And the only reason that we can even get even further kind of developments from that is because we're built off the shoulders of men that came before us. Can you imagine if humanity had to just restart every time somebody died? Like when Thomas Edison died, we just lost a light bulb.
Oh man,
it'd be another 1,000 years before we got another one.
Right.
And that speaks to like the specialization. And when humanity has so many of us, we can actually kind of be able to develop with each other, on top of each other.
Right. Well, speaking of which, you mentioned Thomas Edison and the light bulb, and it reminded me when I was at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., they showed, it was pretty cool. They had light bulbs from like the beginning, right? And they're showing like the progression of the light bulb from then till now. And the base of it, the metal part, is literally still the same as like the original design. It was like he nailed the original design of like the screwing part and like the little dot at the bottom of it or whatever.
Interesting.
It's like you could literally, I told my wife, I was like, I'm pretty sure that very first light bulb in the whole list would fit in one of these sockets and work. Like
you could take the very first one and go plug it into your house.
Right. It was
That's
crazy.
awesome,
like, it's just a little side note, but I saw that and I was like, wow, that's actually, he nailed that. He nailed that the first time. That's pretty awesome.
Right. We take for granted just how much kind of convenience that we have in today's society.
Yeah.
And that's also what paints that picture of the modern sensibility stuff. I mean, like fire was a major thing, but you think of simple things like air conditioning, any of these other smaller things that make our lives just so much more convenient. The cell phone that we've only had for the last 50, 60 years, internet. I mean, it's so easy to lose sight of how the world used to be, how everything operated. It's just like, it's wild to think about.
Oh yeah. The internet and Google gave us access to like all information almost, you know what I mean? How do I fix this? Right. We've gotten progressively so much smarter over the last 25 years, 30 years, whatever, since the internet's really become prominent and easily accessible. The cell phone factor of it just took it to a whole nother level as well. Chris, I'm not ignoring you. I did look that up in the Discord, by the way. Chris had a chat that was deleted. It said he saw a woman preacher from an Episcopal church with a Planned Parenthood sash saying that Jesus would be helping end unborn babies, basically saying that Jesus would promote abortion. Yeah, it's obviously we disagree with not with you, Chris, because you said it made you sick, but just another reason why these activists, women particularly, I mean activists period, but they tend to be the worst.
No, you meant that.
When they become, thought leaders and leaders in our religion and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. We're already 8:24 and yeah, Evil Elmo did say the problem is if the internet went down, people would lose their minds. 100% true on that one. Now he becomes dependent on it. Just me said, did you hear in Illinois they're letting the prisoners who are illegal change their names and then they're releasing them so that ICE can't get them? I did see that. Thank you for posting that in the Discord earlier, by the way, just me. For those of you that don't know, in the Discord, we have like a topic submission area and a guest request and stuff like that. So if anybody wanted to come on and potentially join us one of these shows for even a little bit, join the Discord, plug in, and we can definitely, not definitely make that happen, but definitely have the conversation and potentially have you on. But
Yep.
yeah, I did see that, and I actually would like to touch on that briefly, just because where's it at? Topic submission. Oh, you know what? This is in Chrome. Let's see here.
Oh, I just read what Chris said. That's wild that YouTube censored that.
Yeah, that is. So I can't get it to pull up in Brave. I use Brave and Chrome, but Brave is what I use for the stream. But let's see here. I have to open it and then transfer it over.
Do you have to join the Discord to come on the show? I would say no, but it would definitely make it easier.
Yeah, it's just a better way that we can talk to you offline or online, but off live, and at least make sure that you're not going to come on here and just sabotage us, and make sure you understand the rules of YouTube and some of those things that, we're not trying to get banned. We're trying to stay monetized, all that good stuff, It's a little bit of a safeguard.
Yeah. Or if you even wanted to like connect on X, like X would also be a good way. Obviously, Dan McKnight and Native Patriot aren't in the Discord, but if we have a way we can at least connect and like look at shit beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
To be able to bring you on.
Who said that? I didn't see. Donnie. Oh, Donnie. Yeah, you don't. Okay. Yeah. Well, we know you, Donnie.
Yeah, you know who you are. That just goes for everybody else. We don't know you.
TNT says my beard's not worthy to be on the show. That's funny. Mine's all short now. I can't even brag. But I do look nice, kind of cleaned up a little bit for a while. It'll grow out quickly.
I didn't put enough black man product in my beard today that it's very frizzy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You said you have to shop that aisle to get the. So what do you use? Is it like an oil or is it some type of beeswax or something?
So it's like a shampoo ordeal.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I gotta like do it like every single day, or
Dang.
otherwise like I'll wake up and it'll be like on one side of my face. It's super tight knit. I have to use a pick, as I got made fun of in the Discord for, but yeah, I have to use a pick in it. Can't comb it, can't do nothing with it. Got to use a pick.
Yeah. Well, Abigail Shepard said you guys have some cool guests. I'm excited to see who's to come. I was thinking about all this conversation that we're having today, and there's a guy at church that came to mind, and maybe I'd like to get him on and have him. I mean, he's one of like the associate pastors or whatever, so he could even speak more in depth of some of the things that we're talking about where it comes to like the Holy Spirit and the Trinity and things like that as well. He'd be useful. Been trying to talk to, been in touch with Dan McKnight, Native Patriots, really busy. I'm trying to get them back in, and I'd actually like to get some of the people under Native Patriots, Patriot Prayer kind of umbrella. There's multiple shows and different hosts and stuff. And I was trying to talk to him, but he doesn't respond back fully. I think his DMs are pretty busy, and I'm just not the type that likes to blow somebody up. You know what I mean? So I reach out every once in a while, but I'd like to get some of his co-hosts and things like that on the show as well. I think that's another way that we can all help each other out, which is kind of an underlying theme as well. Chris should come back on one day soon as well. And then
we'll have Chris on soon.
I talked to a guy from my coaching group who has a channel called Yesterday's News. He's a funny type of dude. He originally started out his YouTube channel trying to he played both characters. He went away from this just because it was really hard for like to break in and get the views and stuff like that. He might get back to this style once his channel gets a little bit more popular. But he was kind of like first person hosting like a Tucker Carlson, but then he had like a guy sitting in the shadow at a desk, and that guy was based in the shadow, but he himself was playing like a dumb liberal kind of Chris Cuomo type, I should say, intentionally. And it was really funny, but it just didn't get the views and things because he was just a brand new channel. And so he kind of had to change his format around, and it's a little bit more similar to mine now. But I talked to him yesterday, and he's moving right now over the weekend. So he'll come on probably in the next week or two. Like I mentioned before, my coach Justin, he's probably going to come on and join us. Another guy, and a couple other people that we have down the road. And like I said, I'd like to get Dan McKnight back on. I was this close to. We were both in DC for the inauguration. We just couldn't make the times align. He was going to one or a couple of one of the balls that night, and it was just couldn't get the schedules to align. And the proximity of our hotels wasn't the best either.
We need a leftist on. If anybody knows any deranged leftist or Satanist or even a CUCKSERVATIVE who likes watching the Daily Wire, definitely bring them on. We'd like to have a discussion with them.
Yeah,
it'll be a nice sit down.
Yeah, definitely. So let's I thought I pulled this up. Okay. This is the live from America TV. Attention, the state of Illinois has made it so illegal aliens can change their last name with no process or conditions. This is a move to help shield them from Trump's deportation team. JB Pritzker should be arrested. Oh, I guess it helps if I put it on the screen. What am I doing?
That helps.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm going to play this. This is 3 minutes long. I just wanted to touch on this. This wasn't actually in our original outline, but just me mentioned it, and I think it's definitely worth repeating and letting everybody know this is what's going on. This is what these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary states are doing to counter Donald Trump's agenda to get these people deported. And I'm curious what your guys' solution would be. How should Donald Trump handle this? Should he just completely cut funds to these states like California, where their governor is openly defying Donald Trump's orders, saying that they're going to come out and work against Donald Trump's, wishes and things? Same thing with Illinois. Because to me, I think they just need, if you're not going to be compliant as one of the states of the union to, the federal laws, the federal government is not, entitled to give you a dime. So I think that'd be a good start. Let's see here.
Is it JB Pritzker? Is that who's like spearheading this? The whole change your name thing?
It said, JB Pritzker should be arrested.
Okay. That's what I saw.
Yeah, let's listen to this here real quick.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this.
You're echoing real bad.
Since the main
I'm echoing real bad?
Mm-hmm.
Darn, let me see here. I haven't had that issue in a while. Let me go to my settings and make sure my... Let me try this.
mainstream media has decided not to cover.
Yep, way better.
Still echoing? Okay. And you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I had to unplug. I had to rearrange my configuration with the mic the other day. I didn't realize it was plugged into the slow USB port, the slower of the two. And so, okay, let's go ahead and give this a play now. Yeah, dude. Just a little side note. I wasted like an hour and a half yesterday filming. Had no clue none of my audio was recording from my video that I was playing or in my microphone. I went to edit it and it was just mute. I filmed 1.5 videos and I'm like, wait a minute, something's weird. Stopped it, And sure enough, completely wasted an hour and a half of filming, and then had to spend the next hour figuring out how to fix it. And finally I got it fixed, but apparently I didn't have it fixed completely. I had to change, but go ahead and rewind this and we'll let it rip. Yeah, Andrea, that it sucked. I had some good takes in there too, and it was just all for nothing. No way to recover it.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. And since the mainstream media has decided not to cover this once again, it falls on the smaller, more personal publications like LFA TV and others to get this information out to you. Early last year, the state of Illinois, led by Governor Porky Pritzker, made a law for their sanctuary state and their sanctuary city of Chicago that an illegal alien could change their last name. Now, why would they do that? Well, obviously, the reason why they would do that is to shield them from any kind of possible deportation. And then after they change their name, they're allowed to get driver's licenses and any other kind of government official ID that allows them to basically be American citizens under a different name. However, there were conditions attached to that law, meaning that anybody who was going to change their last name, any illegal alien that was going to change their last name, had to do the same thing that any American would have to do. They would have to make it public by publishing that information. They would have to give people an opportunity to argue or combat that, i.e. the government, Border Patrol, ICE. And then when Donald Trump won in November, everything changed. Now that Donald Trump won and is promising to deport every single illegal alien, starting with the criminals and working down, the state of Illinois has revised that law. And that law now says, and this is according to Newsweek, that they don't have to go through any of the conditions that were set prior. So if an illegal alien wants to change their name now, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. They go in, change their name. They don't have to publish it. Don't have to make it public. No conditions whatsoever. Get a new driver's license, and boom. It's going to be that much more difficult for Tom Homan and President Trump to find these people and deport these people. That right there should be aiding and abetting illegal aliens. That right there is enough to get Governor Porky Pritzker and the Illinois legislature locked up and behind bars, because that right there is an obvious attempt to shield these people from the deportation mission that Tom Homan and Donald Trump have prepared. This is sickening. Go look it up. And it's something that should be called out. And it's something that should hold accountable the people that are responsible for this. Please make sure you share this video. If you're watching on X, repost it. If you're watching on IG, just simply share it to your stories, because I don't have the ability to collaborate with anybody anymore to get this information out. Thanks a lot, Zuck. Guess you weren't telling the truth after all. Jeremy Harrell, LFA TV, www.lfatv.us. We appreciate you. And as always, bringing you the news that the mainstream media will not.
Let him give a little self-plug for sharing that information with us.
The plug in the logo is pretty funny.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Abigail Shepard mentioned that changing your name is a process and it's a pain in the ass, and how the illegals just somehow have things made much easier for them than it is for the people that, live here and didn't abandon their home country. And, the craziest part about this, not the craziest, but a crazy thing about this is most of these people, all of them really, they drop their IDs, their wallets, everything before they come across the border. And then they just say, I'm whoever, come up with a new ID. They go through the process with the CBP One app and all that. And then now they're changing their names again. It's not the first time that they've changed their names. So they're like, okay, do it again, I guess, and it's just a shame that we have states literally working against Trump when we have, the people set the mandate that we want deportations. We need deportations in order for our country to get back to livable. The last
Right.
4 years under Biden was rough, and TNT's cracking me up there. My name is Jose Smith. That was funny.
Well, you think about it from like arrest warrants as well. Arrest warrants, court orders, all that. Like, if the name don't match up because they're using the name they have on file,
Mhm,
and not what you just changed it to. I mean, obviously, you can't do nothing about it, right? Because
mhm.
we have a system that does so much to prevent or to give people rights, which these illegals shouldn't have these rights in the first place for things like due process.
Mhm.
They get taken advantage of when people like Jimmy Pritzker rushes forward legislation like that to make sure that they can take advantage of it. It's
Right,
disgusting.
and that's the thing too. If it's like, all right, well, you're not the name that we have on here, but your name also isn't in the system. So guess what? You're still getting deported.
Yeah.
Easy fix, right? And
Yeah.
name yourself whatever you want. If you're not if you don't got a birth certificate, if you don't have a social security number that matches who you are, like, whatever, it's tad tall. But yeah, that's really messed up. I can't believe that um states are aiding and abetting this type of sedition. It's not treason, but it's sedition.
Close enough.
Right. So moving on, Steve Bannon. I'm not a conservative. Conservatives are pussies. The Republican Party's a bunch of pussies. They're controlled opposition, and we've heard it said before that the Republicans don't really stop the Democrats. They just slow them down. They always cede ground. They never push back. And that's what we need Trump for. Is we need to start taking some of this ground back. That's what we need Andrew Wilson for. Is we need to take some of this ground back, right? We're not just trying to, like the Daily Wire, operate a business within the climate that currently is going on. We're trying to make things better, trying to change things, trying to get some of the ground we've lost back. You know what I mean? But let's play this video here real quick. It's only 16 seconds.
Working on populist nationalism for 20 years, and I'm a hardcore populist. I'm a hardcore nationalist. I'm not a conservative. I think conservatives are pussies. The Republican Party's a bunch of pussies. They're controlled opposition. Working on populist nationalism for 20 years, and I'm a hardcore populist. I'm a hardcore nationalist. I'm not a conservative. I think conservatives are pussies. The Republican Party's a bunch of pussies. They're controlled opposition. Working on populist national.
Good old Steve Bannon.
It's true though. It's sad that it has to get like this, but it's true. Conservatives are the first ones to always just bend the knee. They're one of the first ones to compromise. You see how even the left operates. If we're looking at a super basic formation, the left will immediately cancel somebody. They're cutthroat. You don't hold the party line out. And who knows what that party line is? And they just go by whatever current thing is. But he's right, though. We
Right.
saw a lot of this with the H-1B visa discussion. I mean, what were some of the first arguments we were seeing? Oh, it looks like that people are disagreeing with the H-1B visa. Like, look, they're only disagreeing because there's some kind of psyop being done to drive a wedge between these people. It's like, man, come on. It's like, just look at the fact that the people who are in these positions are saying things we don't agree with. It's okay to disagree with somebody. You don't have to wholeheartedly just always take what Elon says as God's spoken truth, because it's not. Same thing goes for Trump as well. And so what we're watching, and hopefully we don't stay on this pace, is this kind of separation of the populism and going back to a bit more of a status quo. Now, Trump's doing a lot of good things, but that's also why we highlight this kind of separation of the Christianity from the conservative movement. So if we allow things to only be status quo and only push so far, it's not going to take much for a left-wing guy to come in and say, hey, let's go all the way back to what Biden did in 2020 and restore some of this. You got to start doing things that are very hardcore. Now, a lot of this also comes from the fact of Trump, as well as many others in this space, just living in fear of what the New York Times may write about them. Even though we know the New York Times is a disgusting elitist organization that lies compulsory, they still are like, well, I don't want anyone to have a bad opinion of me. I don't want anybody to have a highlighted article and say mean things about me because I don't want to be offensive. And like what we'll see even in a lot of our Discord discussion as well, and many other places like that too. Well, I don't want to offend nobody, but meanwhile the left is like, and I'm going to take your kids' balls. I'm going to make them read gay porn when they're 9 years old. It's like, come on, dude, you got to get a grip here. Like, we got to do something that who cares about being offensive, man? Stand up for what you believe in, have some conviction, and find your own balls before the left takes them. You know, it's like,
right.
It's
find them before the left takes them. I love that. I need to put that on a shirt. Find your balls before the left takes them. Great.
Yeah, I'm not that retarded.
Donnie with the fiber. Appreciate that, Donnie. It's not sad they're dorks. Sorry. It's not sad they're dorks. I was telling you this years ago now. We need a stronger right wing to absorb them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you want to be offended, come into the Discord and read some of the things that I've said. Or go to my X profile. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, if people can't handle Andrew Wilson, man, you'd be holding the cross up against me if you listen to how I talk to my wife half the time. There's just a certain level of where we've been bashed and propagandized into being these nice little, like how Donnie says, these nice little dorks. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry, I wanted to, okay, and then that's why we see this epidemic of white knights. These men who are like these fat chuds who are like, whoa, did you just say something mean to a woman online? Man, here I am. That guy must definitely be gay. It's like, dude. Like, dude, it's
what are you, a misogynist?
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, we've adopted this kind of left-wing rhetoric. Same thing you'll see the Daily Wire do with this recent Tucker Carlson thing. Anytime that this dude says anything, or Tucker or anyone, to be honest, pokes a little bit at like, hey, maybe the post-war consensus was something like this, they go, whoa, that's a dog whistle. What he actually means is the complete opposite of anything that he actually said there. It's wild to believe, because that's what we got mad about the left doing, right? Somebody would say, I think we should get rid of homosexual marriage. They go, whoa, did you hear what he said? He said he wants to be a Nazi. It's like, that's not what he said. They do use these terms like he's dog whistling for stuff. But now we have the right wing doing that to people who are on the right wing. And it's again, like what the Daily Wire does as a whole, like this gatekeeping process of, don't you ever be too offensive. Don't you ever be too Christian. Don't you ever be too, and always telling you what the first thing is to compromise on. They'll be the first ones to tell you, hey, well, we can never push for federal abortion, man. That's just too far. It's like, if that, like, don't tell me what I should be holding as my convictions and beliefs, especially if I can be the one who can win the argument here. And if I can win the argument in the free marketplace of ideas, and your idea sucks, well, guess what? Your idea sucks, and we're going to go with mine. And that's the way it should be.
Right. Steve says, the pendulum swings so far left. We saw this last election. The tide is changing. This is the time to actually grow a pair and be aggressors and force the left to come back to reality. Right. We got 2 years to do it before we have the midterm elections, and we could potentially lose the House. And we need to just really be it's only a year and a half, to be honest, for the election. Well, a little bit longer than that. We'll call it 2 years. I'm all right with that. But really foot on the gas. It's time to be the aggressors. It's time to, stop turning the other cheek when somebody's coming to you with this thing that is wrong. Instead of, just live and let live. When your kids are coming to you and saying, whatever, you, the wiser, right, are supposed to correct them. I mean, it's been this joke for over a decade that, the parents or the students are the ones telling the parents what to do. You know what I mean? The parents now blame, what was that meme? It used to be like the teacher standing next to the parents, against the kid, right? The student. And now it's the parents and the student standing against the teachers. And now it's even gone another step, like over the last 4 years under Biden, and even some under Trump. Anybody that went to those like not student council, but like the parent teacher meetings or anything like that, and they stood up and was like, no, my daughter, shouldn't be using the restroom with boys, they would kick those guys out. Like, so they basically just vilified the true masculine men that are willing to step up for their family. They kick them out. They take away their voice. They, they run mainstream media, runs them through the mud, calling them all these names. And then it's just like the next guy's like, well, I'm just going to bite my tongue, or I'm not even going to go to that meeting. It's not worth my time. It's not worth the effort. It's not worth losing my job, all that type of stuff. And so, this is the time where we really need to just not worry about that stuff. And frankly, the independent media has grown to the point where if it catches wind of your story, I mean, you can actually get some traction to the people.
Right.
Steve then said, homosexual marriage isn't a real thing. It's secular poppycock. Get it, right? Yeah, it really is. I mean, the definition of a marriage is like it's, described in the Bible as between a man and a woman in front of God or whatever, a union. It doesn't say it's between a man and a man or a woman and a woman. It's like taking a dictionary term definition and changing it, which the left loves to do, by the way. They don't just do it with the term marriage. It's like they just have no respect. The tolerant left, no respect for the Christian white man. That's for sure. But they want you to have respect for, everybody else. All these fringe, crazy culture, brain children destroying ideologies.
Well, the most easily influenced.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've said multiple times, now is the time where the CN community, the far right, whatever you want to call them, whatever offends you more, to be honest, is going to start seeding those kind of ideas the same way that the left did 60, 70, 80 years ago, which is be screamed at now, but then start working on the guys who are going to be filling positions. I think one of the first ones we've seen make it a bit far is somebody like who's always called the Christian Prince, Dusty Devers, guy who was out there in Oklahoma. He's one of the first people who pushed for, I believe the way they did the legislation was outlining the age verification process for porn websites, mainly Pornhub. Pornhub just immediately pulled out. Now pushing on things like abortion as well, outlawing that entirely, and taking steps to further cement things like Christian ideology, the beliefs and tenets of Christian faith inside the positions where they need to be. And more men, the more we follow suit and we get the young guys involved, and then they take those places. And next thing you know, hopefully in 10 to 20 years, you remember back in 2020 when like everyone was fake and gay, and now it's 2041 and it's like there's like 20 different Christian nationalists and Senate seats and like House Republican spots, and we'll probably even change from like the America First narrative to like God First or Christ is King movement or whatever it ends up being called. But hopefully that's the direction we can do by planting these seeds to not just be reactionary and always being the ones who have to play defense. Start playing this offense, the long game. We'll see some hard changes, and that way it's a lot harder to repeal when that time does come, when there's opposition met by whatever satanic evil force wants to show its face then.
Steve said, this is where I think we've lost the plot. People pretend separation of church and state means we cannot have any church authority. Nonsense. Every state has a church in our founding. Yeah, every state, the whole country is written by Christians. Founded. They wrote the Constitution and stuff, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, the way I always word it too is the separation of church and state was not only just terrible adjudication from the Supreme Courts at the time, but imagine if we took a letter that Joe Biden wrote to somebody back in Delaware, same exact situation with Thomas Jefferson here, and we were like, man, dude, like this letter, like, man, Joe Biden's really based in this letter here. Why don't we legislate based on what Joe Biden wrote in this letter, and we make that the law of the land? Like, that's how retarded it is with the separation of church and state. It's also largely a myth too. Like the majority of what people actually said as the premise of what the separation of church and state is entirely a myth. Now, one of the things I will give credit for with Charlie Kirk was he actually did like a phenomenal 6-minute breakdown of all the reasons why this is entirely bogus and not real. And you even stretched that to early, like we're talking pre-formation of the United States, all of the colonial governments, state governments, and whatever you'd call that before they were even considered, states or colonies, like the city states, I guess, whatever it would be termed, they all had Christian governments. the separation of church and state's main purpose was to defer, like the Quakers at that time and the other larger Christian denominations, from superseding any of the other denominations and then enforcing that one denomination rule over them all. It wasn't to force a secular toning in neutrality over it. It was to just ensure that it wasn't Catholicism that would reign over. It wasn't the Quakers that it would reign over. It wouldn't be the Episcopalians that would reign over, and so on and so forth. And so much of that is stretched because, again, the Department of Education is exactly what it's not. You don't get an education. So people end up with this backwards idea that the separation of church and state is exactly what the word of the title is. It's that there was some outlining here that said, actually, religion has no place in the government. And Titan's right. When people even say that, it just like that's one way you know that somebody has extremely low historical context over everything that makes the current state. And that's why some people are lost. They look at the last like 5 to 10 years and they go, that's what government is. And it's like, no, it's like government, especially here in America, you should look at the last 400 years. That's how much you need to have a full understanding. Because if you don't know what came previously, how can you at all have an idea of how we even came to for the present situation? So without that knowledge, you're extremely ill-equipped to even handle anything like that. That's why it's good you do have people like Andrew Wilson and you know, to a certain extent, Charlie Kirk as well, who come out here and can immediately demolish these ideas and be like, dude, what are you talking about? Especially when so much, I mean, it was the breath. You couldn't take a breath in America without it being a Christian air you were breathing. That's how Christian this nation was. So when people say anything outside of that, you know, okay, I'm talking to an idiot. I'm talking to somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. But again, so you don't want to do a bad faith with people, but I understand if you don't have an idea of what the separation of church and state is, I highly encourage you go to somebody, even if it is TPUSA, to listen to them break it down so you have an understanding that it's everything that you were not told by the DOE that it is.
For real. I like what Just Me just said. The First Amendment prevents the government from creating or establishing a religion, and thereby prevents the power of the government from expanding beyond civil matters. The words separation of church and state don't actually exist. It's a good point. It's a really good point. And then I saw here TNT Cycle said he met Mel Gibson at a coffee shop in Coeur d'Alene. I don't know, in 2021. That was awesome little community.
Well, just to respond to that from Just Me, they've got the separation of church and state, those words, the framing of such words, from a letter that Thomas Jefferson had signed to a church in Delaware. So understand when people cite that, the precedent for that being any further adjudicated beyond what was explicitly outlined in the First Amendment came from a Supreme Court using the letter from Thomas Jefferson as this sort of basis for why it should be expanded upon and reach its more kind of liberal definition of where it is like currently. And the sad part with it too is you'll have Christians today who argue on that front. They say, oh no, Christians shouldn't try to seek these positions and do Christian faith because of the separation of church and state. So even inside the Christian community, they also have been captured by this ridiculous idea and they don't understand the context of such. It's just a super sad battle to have inside the faith itself.
It definitely is. So let's see. What do you want to cover next? Or should we say, I know the big topic over the last 2 days has been the two major plane crashes in 48 hours.
Yeah,
but also,
you highlighted that. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say we got that, and then I'd also want to mention that Trump did order strikes on ISIS in Somalia, which I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I haven't personally delved into it too much, but it is one of the trending topics of the day.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I know that's not in the outline, but let's touch on those two, and then anything else that you really want to make sure we hit, because I know we're approaching the 2 hour mark, but we can go long. I'm fine with that if you're not in too big of a
I'll
rush.
Cut out like at least 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's probably the latest I can go. But I'll go the planes with you, and then if you want to look at you want to cover about the ISIS stuff when I hop out of here, because I haven't looked at that at all.
We might just save that for Monday and see what else comes of it, because I'm sure there'll be more news and stuff like that. We'll just cover this. We'll talk about the plane thing, 'cause I'm right there with you. I don't know a whole lot of details about the Somali attack.
Yeah. I'm retarded.
Chris said we have National Guard headed to the Middle East. Man, I wish I'm gonna have to get. Maybe I'm gonna try to talk Dan into coming on Monday and talking about that because that's his main prerogative, priority with his foundation, Dan McKnight, in that he does not approve. And I think he had I think last time he was on, he mentioned like over 30 states, sign legislature, to keep our National Guard within our own country.
Well, that's all we do have. That's why he did make those things. That's
Right.
why he signed that legislation. It's because, for one, our recruitment numbers are so pitiful and poor. I mean, our standing army is kind of very small, especially looking at what rates should have been based on 20 years ago. That all the people we do have to send over is gathering from all the different individual state National Guard bases, and then with pulling them to go fight in the Middle East. Even though obviously the National Guard, everyone's basic understanding of that is like they're for defense. They're not for overseas operations. It's kind of a wild scenario.
Yeah, for sure. So we got this first one here. This is basically let me X out some of these boxes. So we have footage from. No, that's probably what it is. Hope the audio's been all right. I was messing with my settings earlier, and it's loud in my ears, but it might not be coming through loud to you guys. So let me know if it's okay when I play this video.
Word. Sounds good to me.
These videos obtained exclusively by CNN show previously unseen angles of the collision between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In the second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
I like how she said Walter.
I know. What was that accent?
I like how they say it in New York too. Water. I always laugh at it from the Impractical Jokers episode. But to me, it looks like the helicopter flew directly in its path. You know what I mean? It's not like helicopter zigzags or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Right.
The story is just crazy.
Well, did you listen to the transcript from the FAA tower?
Yeah, from the flight control, whatever it's called, air traffic control.
Yeah, there should be a still frame in there too. If you pull back on that video somewhere, you'll see a plane on the far right side that's actually closer to the camera.
Let's see.
So the story is that, from what we understand, because they're only letting out so many details of this so far, is that when control tower called or radioed into that helicopter, they said, "Do you see, flight?"
See you later, JB.
Oh yeah, see you later, JB. He said, "Did you see flight A1B2073?" And there's a plane actually departing. So the plane that they hit was inbound. There's also a plane that is outbound, taking off. So
Right.
the belief is that they looked over and saw the plane outbound that was close to them, and they said, "Yeah, I see it,"
Mhm.
and did confirm that it wasn't the plane that was actually inbound. And if you look at that path, I mean, the helicopter goes right into it. Helicopter drives right into that inbound plane. I mean, it goes right into its flight path.
The helicopter was a leftist, said Titan.
Well, the crazy thing with it too is there was a fake news story that dropped, and I'm unsure what the origins were.
But yeah, here
But-
it is right here. You can see what you're just describing. They're talking about seeing this this plane, but really, when I scroll forward, they crash. Oh wait, no,
Yeah, that's the one.
it looked like that, but
Yeah, there's a wider.
there's a
panel
very
you can see it.
similar view where there's like a plane over here that appears that they hit or that they see I think it might just be this zoomed out.
Yeah, I'm not sure
That's
what the other camera angle is. This one you can see him hitting the water though, because they're right
Yeah.
over. That's where the crash site was.
Sorry, I was confused there for a second because the original the very first video that came out, you could see there was two planes, two jets coming in, or two jets in the frame at least.
Yeah, that's the story. But what I was going to say was there's an origin that was this. I'm not sure what the origin was of a fake news story because they weren't releasing the details. All we know so far is that the co-pilot was a man, was a white dude. That's all we know so far right now. They initially thought they had the identity of the actual pilot, who was a female or trans woman, trans person. No idea, literally no idea. I don't. But it turns out that wasn't
it was a person named Joe Ellis that had been in the National Guard for like 15 years, or flying helicopters for like 15 years. Born male, identified as a woman. But I saw that story was completely debunked, and Joe Ellis, J.O. Ellis, actually put out a video this morning saying, "Look, I'm still alive. That wasn't me flying that helicopter."
Yeah, she put out a whole statement letting people know it wasn't her.
Who?
But if you actually scroll, so there's another one here. Matt Walsh highlighted this. The military is actually withholding the name of the pilot, but they did let people know that the pilot was female. They're withholding it at request of the family because they have an understanding, if most people get the idea that this is a female pilot. Donald Trump even said, this is the reason why this happened was DEI. People are going to attack her for it. People are going to attack her, the family, the reputation of her, because they're going to argue, why was this female flying the plane? This is why females shouldn't fly helicopters. This is why females shouldn't be in these positions. And as much as I do agree with that, but that's also why the Army who would be in charge of this. They are not releasing the name of it, but we did get confirmation it was a female who was operating the helicopter.
Right. And it's been, I know I heard, dude, it might have been 15, 16 years ago, that female helicopter pilots, like, they train a lot of females to be helicopter pilots because they're smaller in stature and they fit in there better or whatever. And I think it's the ones the two-bladed helicopters, like the big ones that have two blades, like the one in front and that look like a banana or whatever. Kind of look like a banana, they're longer. I heard years ago that all of those pilots, every single one of those is flown by a woman, but I don't know if that's true today. I heard it years ago from a military guy. But so I know that, and he said that they do that. They train a lot of women because they fit in the seat better. It's pretty cumbersome inside of the helicopter, but could be wrong. Things could have changed, and that was like years ago. That was before the DEI stuff was super prominent and stuff like that. Shauna says they did release the woman's name. I thought I had actually seen that they released the pilot's name.
Interesting. Okay. That'd be an update from what I had seen.
It confirmed that she was flying it. She was in the pilot seat or whatever. Not the Joe Ellis person, but a different woman.
Yeah, there was a highlighted segment from Matt Walsh that he had pointed out that the Army had confirmed it. Like, I don't know if it was by accident or not, but they were like, we're not releasing the name of the female, whatever. And so it's like, okay, by then, that's confirmation that at request of the family that it was a girl.
This is it right here. This was at 3:30 p.m. yesterday. So things have changed, I guess. But the military is withholding the name of the female helicopter pilot. This is totally unacceptable. The helicopter was involved in and may have actually caused one of the worst airline disasters in American history. We have to know the names. We have the right to know the names. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Nothing in the comments of the name, but I bet I could just go here. X has actually become a really useful news source. Let's see here.
I'm seeing a lot on X of
Captain
that.
Rebecca Lobach and Chief Warrant Officer Sabrina Bell
Okay.
smile in the cockpit of a Black Hawk helicopter on February 24th. And then Captain Rebecca Lobach pictured at the White House briefing room January 24th, 23. I pressed the wrong button. Let's see here. Somebody sent me a message. Was that you?
Oh,
okay.
that's TNT actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing a media blackout on it. I don't know how you even found that article.
Just if you go, I'm telling you, X, dude, go to explore on the left under home, and then in the search bar, I just typed female pilot. And then here's Tara Bull posted, breaking, Army has now identified the female pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines flight as Captain Rebecca M. Lobach from Durham, North Carolina.
Rebecca M. Lobach.
Lobach. Multiple reports. No community notes. Just he mentioned that Alex Jones said these helicopters can be flown by remote control. Somebody could have taken over the controls and left the pilot helpless, which I did. Okay, I see that. Check your DMs there, America First. Thank you, TNT.
I'm seeing that our social media accounts have all been taken off the internet.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, TNT. I see that here. Female soldier inside the doomed Black Hawk during DC crash identified. So, I mean, multiple reports here. This looks like it's on screen of national news.
She was a former Biden White House aide.
There is an unidentified female pilot. Oh, that was yesterday. Okay, no, and that's it. That's her. Okay, I'm seeing the other two. Ryan O'Hare, Andrew Eves, and her.
Yeah. O'Hara was the co-pilot. He was in the co-pilot position. I'm not sure what that first guy was or what he was doing.
Yeah. See, this is weird. Donald Trump says the Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high by a lot and was far above the 200-foot limit. That's not really too complicated to understand, is it? Oh, they have a 200-foot limit. See, I saw a thing from air traffic controller that told the helicopter to climb to 3,000 feet. So now I'm confused. Now I'm a little bit more confused. I did hear actually that air traffic control audio that they played wasn't necessarily in sync with the accident. So maybe it was some fake news, but I know they crashed at 400 feet, so they weren't very high up off the ground.
That's wild, though. I mean,
Yeah.
It just makes you think, like, what the heck was going on there?
Well, my initial thought was who was on the plane or what happened that they're coming out of Wichita. I think Boeing is stationed in Wichita. I mean, the wheels start spinning in the conspiracy train whenever something this abnormal happens, and I got this. Oh, did I close everything? I guess I did. We got this post from Benny Johnson. Breaking, it's been officially announced that there are no survivors in the DC plane crash, which I think everybody knows that by now.
Right. Unfortunately, there were 7 casualties in the Philadelphia one as well. I haven't seen any update on how many more. But
it wasn't you. I was giving the story the poop emoji, by the way, their house, not you. I was giving the story. I'm grateful that you shared it.
That's funny.
Yeah. I was wondering if you thought that would be towards you. Now I know.
That's good. That's good.
Put that on the screen. That was a comment on Atlas's channel. I appreciate you for being a contributor there in the Discord there, House. You're actually a valuable asset to our show. All of you guys are. All of you guys are, to be honest with
you. Yes.
The story was right, LOL. I know, House. You're legit. Did
I'm
you
going
guys?
on Discord right now to look at it.
I was gonna say, did you guys see in the Discord, the guy that doesn't watch our show but seems to be all over the Discord, asked how it was going. I said about to go live, and then he didn't say anything about joining. I thought that was kind of crappy of him. We're gonna make fun of him until one day he's like, I saw you guys talking crap on me. It's like, oh, he does watch. He does
like
watch.
a 4-minute clip of us doing it.
Stand corrected.
Like, hey, at least you watched it.
Just me said, I feel like the helicopter being flown into the plane was 100% intentional. The question is intentional by who, the pilot or someone behind the remote control? No, Donnie, I don't think he has ever watched any of our lives. He asked if he's here.
It's funny.
Tick says our furry friend wants to be converted. if he's true. I love how Buck Egypt or Buck 8 or Bucket. I'm wondering if it's actually just Bucket. You know the Discord names. Everybody's got a cool little handle or whatever. But right. I wonder if or I like how he always keeps calling him a furry. Yesterday he told House, he said, "Hey House, tell the furry I think he's gay."
Yeah, no, that was hilarious.
The banter in there, man, it gets me.
It's the best, actually. The very best. That's why we made the Discord.
Yeah. Buck goes hard. He's cool. Yeah, and they're both. It's not like it's one-sided or anything like that. So they're both game though.
Yeah, we have other furries in the Discord. They just haven't shown themselves yet.
Yeah, probably can't show that one, TNT. There's apparently a video of a guy on fire from the Philly plane crash. Probably can't show that, but yeah, it's definitely on X if anybody wants to look that up. Yeah,
I made sure not to add that one. There's also one, and if you guys see it, I think I added that. No, I added the guy on fire in the Discord, but the one I didn't add, the one in Philadelphia, a huge portion of the plane landed into a Dunkin' Donuts. There was a guy nearby the Dunkin' Donuts shortly in the aftermath, and he's just recording with his phone. So again, not safe for work warning, but it is some of the most grotesque things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm talking like exactly what the police had said in their report. There are body parts all over the area. They wanted people to avoid it. And this guy is like just walking around the street before many first responders had shown up. And to keep things as very safe as possible. I mean, I'm talking like a torso here, a portion of the back person's skull over here, shoes with feet still in them over here. I mean, like I had to stop watching after like a minute and a half because he just kept walking around the area, and there's like obviously plane parts in different places too.
I didn't see that. I'm glad.
Yeah, but that is floating around on X. Most people I saw did put that kind of blur warning in front of it though, so you have to actually like click on it to be able to like see it. You can't just like scroll into it.
Yeah. Man, that's rough.
Yeah, apparently.
Excuse me.
Well, I was going to say, apparently they confirmed immediately that the 6 who were on board the plane. The Philadelphia plane was a bit more sad. With this Philadelphia plane, there were 6 people on the plane that perished. There's 7 total, but 6 who were on the plane, 3 members. The other 3 and it was a medical flight. It was a daughter and her parents who were on that flight. She was seeking treatment. I'm not sure if she was getting inbound or she was outbound for treatment because it was finished.
I'm pretty sure it was after the treatment, but I could be wrong because I think they were headed towards final destination. I heard was in Tijuana, Mexico. So if they were leaving the country, well, you know, to be honest with you, I could be wrong. A lot of Americans go to Tijuana to get surgeries and treatments on things that, you know, since it's just across the border that they won't do in the United States, they'll do in Mexico. I think Tim Pool just went and had something like that done within the last half year.
And it's way cheaper.
Yeah, that's true too. So I could be wrong, but I did hear that it was headed to Tijuana, and it was after the surgery or the treatment or whatever, which just a complete tragedy. I mean, not like the first one isn't, you know what I mean, but they're both terrible tragedies. And a lot of people on this Pennsylvania one, they thought that it was a missile that came down. The speed that the plane, descended and the line it took, it
Yeah.
almost it almost looked like that. But
Well, there's apparently a guy who was just chilling in his car, the plane directly collided with. So he was the first. That's why it was 7 confirmed dead. The guy was just in his car in wrong place, wrong time.
okay, Chris said she was post surgery. Okay. Shauna says she was a Mexican citizen that received donation from American charity for life-saving medical treatment. It just adds to the devastation, the heartbreak to that story. That's terrible.
Right. Yeah, and what people have been pointing out too, which is one of these videos that's added in here. It's the
Andrew said headed to Missouri and then is going to gas up and head to Mexico. Thanks for that information, you guys. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. The video right after this in the outline, a lot of people were pointing out that so many of the videos that we're getting, the first-hand ones from people who saw it happen and were recording, they're all speaking foreign languages. But the one that was standing out to a lot of people was as soon as the plane explodes, you have some Muslims yelling Allahu Akbar, like while he's recording it. So people are pointing out like that's like extremely bad optics. So that was floating around in some circles as well, but I added that one as well too. So he's recording, and that's like his first thought when he sees a plane blow up is to yell Allahu Akbar.
Dang. See that here.
Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Jeez.
What the hell? What the hell?
At least he's saying what the hell instead of it sounds like he's saying, like
right.
Yeehaw. You know what I mean? At least it's not one of those afterwards, but wow.
Yeah, so I believe that the wings were ripped off by the time it hit, which partly is why it looks like such a missile and also why it nosedived so bad. Not sure the exact reasoning, but the wings had been ripped off because it had froze wherever it was at and in the sky. I'm not a physics expert by any means, but on the way back down, it had got yanked off and it turned into a missile.
Dang. Crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Does anybody know the exact what caused it? I heard something about an oxygen tank, but I don't know. I didn't actually see much like direct report on that. Let's see here. Just go to the old search engine there. The jet crash, Philadelphia Air Ambulance caused the Learjet 55, a twin-engine business jet, departed from Northeast Philadelphia Airport on a routine flight to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri, according to the FAA. The aircraft, known for its speed and efficiency, was designed to operate in various weather conditions. Takeoff occurred at approximately p.m. At approximately p.m. Something p.m. It didn't have a number. But shortly after becoming airborne, the jet encountered a technical issue. Weather conditions at the time included light rain and fog, reducing visibility to about 5 to 7 miles. From the top angle, we can see the experienced pilot made a hard descending left turn with no correctional input. This shows the pilot was likely confused or disoriented once entering the cloud and rain. While modern jets are built to handle adverse weather, unforeseen mechanical failures or environmental factors can still pose significant risks.
Yeah.
So that looks like it's a
according to the FAA. The flight,
okay, so let's see, what else can we Video contains what a local Philadelphia news station stated upon the plane making impact. Dang, that's crazy. Dash cam footage. I mean, if I saw that coming down, I would definitely think that it was some type of missile or something like that.
Right.
Steve says, I'm not a flight expert by any means, but all of these air accidents all happening so suddenly doesn't make a bit of sense. I know, and I hate to chalk it up anything other than, just human error, unfortunate circumstances, mechanical failures. But the cynic, the I don't know if cynic, the eternal optimist, the conspiracy theorist, whatever in me,
Yeah.
makes me try to, the discernment in me makes me try to see all possibilities and potentials. And I know that they want to make Trump look bad, and I hate to even like suggest or think this, but that they would sacrifice people to make Trump look bad. But I mean, I wouldn't expect anything better from a bunch of demon serving leftists and people, deep state. I mean, let's be real. Like, I'm not going to project my goodness or my Christian values onto people that are okay with late term abortions and, chemically castrating people under 18 and stuff like that. I mean,
Right.
Evil, essentially, plain and simply
This
stated.
the Philly one's a good bit more believable.
Right.
The Washington one is the one that's very sus, just
Right.
based on all the things that go with it. The fact that they're scrubbing that girl's social media, the fact that it looks like the heli just directly flies into it, even though we do have the transcript or the radio as well, that like, hey, we saw the plane, like no concern whatsoever. It just, that one seems a lot more suspect than this Philly one. But obviously when you have two major events like that happen in like 48, 72 hours, it's so hard to be like anything but like what's going on. Makes you think of and Donnie will get this reference, the Left Behind movies, where the people, I believe it's the first or second book, can't remember, where they're on the plane and all of a sudden it takes a nosedive because the pilot was in the Left Behind books, people go up, Jesus Christ comes back and people go with them. But one of the pilots is a Christian. So the plane immediately starts nosediving because the pilot gets taken away. And so all these planes just started falling out of the air at the same time. It's kind of crazy stuff like that. Just makes you think something's up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree completely. The Washington does even seem more sus, but since they're back to back, they obviously have nothing to do with each other. I say obviously, but seemingly obviously have nothing to do with each other. But the fact they're on back to back days, they kind of get lumped together in the same news story, as we're exhibiting it right here. But new audio from the P&A air traffic control trying to reach the aircraft. Listen as ATC learns that the aircraft is lost. Okay, so let's check this out. There is context added from a community note. This transmission at 56 seconds, which some people claim includes a suspicious phrase, is not from the plane that crashed, but a request for clearance from N6098F, a Piper PA-28 that was coming in to land on runway 24 at the same time. So we'll keep that in mind. But we'll go ahead and give this a listen.
Medevac, med service 056 on departure, turn right heading 290.
And that's one of the hard things about this when you're listening to air traffic control communications. You have to pay attention to the call sign for everything that they say. And to me, an untrained layman, it's hard to decipher who's talking, whether it's the jet, whether it's the air traffic control, or another jet. But let's go ahead and we'll give it a try.
Runway 24 clear for takeoff, wind 25010. Medevac med service 056 affirmative. On departure, turn right heading 290. Runway 24 clear for takeoff. Medevac med service 056 contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8 Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you. Good day.
Medevac med service 056 Northeast Tower contact Philly 123.8.
Real quick, have a good night, Chris. I'm gonna come over there and watch that Harry Potter movie. Just a couple minutes after we're done here, I'm gonna grab a little bite to eat, and I'll probably watch it in the Discord with you guys. Sorry, had to say goodnight to Chris.
Medevac Med Service, Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower. You on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower. How do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower.
This is the other.
36098 Foxtrot, Northeast ground.
Gosh, that's got to be such a tough job for those air traffic controllers to hear that muffled. They're having a conversation with the medevac plane, and then this other one comes in and says something. It's like, huh? Like, these dudes got to be the very best. There's no room for DEI hires or turning down people that, I heard a lot of white people that scored 100% on the test were actually denied jobs and stuff like that because of the prioritization of DEI.
Thirty-six or 908 Foxtrot, Northeast ground, Roger. Stand by one. I'll get back to you when I can.
Approach to runway 24, what's going on down there?
Position 765. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
Okay, so that was a communication to a Learjet. That wasn't to the medevac. So the last communication they had with them was, it looks like, let's just make double check.
Medevac 56 Northeast Tower. You on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower. How do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast.
So it almost seems like they're looking for medevac. Like they took off around here, and they're already looking for medevac before this 51-second mark.
056 medevac. Thank you. Good day.
The 30-second mark was medevac.
056 Northeast Tower. Contact Philly 123.8.
So it almost seems like, and this is just me guessing, that it all happened within 20 seconds, like takeoff, and then they lost communications and it potentially crashed by the 51-second mark. Like this was the medevac talking this short wavelength
Medevac
right here.
Med Service Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower. You on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower. How do you hear this transmission?
That was
Medevac
two different
Med
air traffic controllers calling for them at that point.
Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower. You on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower. How do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower.
Mm-hmm.
6098 Foxtrot. I'm sure you copied that, but for right now, we're gonna call the field closed. We'll try to get you out here when we can. If we can't, we'll have to take you over to Atlantic. But stand by for now.
Dang, that's pretty wild. So that happened super fast. At least that's my interpretation of it. What do you think?
It's just hard to tell.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, though, it's like it's awful because imagine all the people who were just like at home around like this area. So I'm curious more often like what the actual full death count is. I've seen a couple posts of people. One was in particular, a guy was like, said he was literally had been sitting by the window and then went to grab a phone charger. Said he walked away from his window, grab it, and it was the loudest thing he'd ever experienced. Said he was shaken for like hours after that. And based on where it did land, like it definitely afflicted nearby area. Just when you saw how big that explosion is from the video, you see the guy who's on fire himself too. So I'm curious what that total death count was as well there.
Right.
It's a scary thing to be like you were just sitting in your house or you were at Dunkin' Donuts, and next thing you know, you have 0.04 seconds to make to just look and there's the nose of a plane coming at you. It's like, it's just a terrifying prospect.
Yeah, it is. And as somebody who lives fairly close to multiple airports, imagine just, sitting there and then, just something crashing in your neighborhood, into your own house. I mean, it's crazy.
I hear planes all the time. I live less than like 20 minutes away from the Columbus airport. So,
man, crazy.
Definitely makes you think when you hear that. Do I got to start moving? Do I start hustling out the house? Like, what's going on?
Right. Yes. Only thing we can do is pray for these families and pray for the, for this type of thing to not happen again. But man, how crazy. Just insane. I wish there was more clarification on what the actual cause of the crash was, which hopefully that might come out over the next day or so, and we'll be able to report it on Monday's show. But
one thing I saw, that the only tinfoil hat thing that I've seen about the Philly one was that they think this was cartel involved. So the only thing that I'd seen was that there's like not a depart log for this in particular flight. So there's no marker that it actually departed for the flight it was on. And people are, loosely chalking it up to maybe there was this family maybe got money from the cartel or something and like didn't pay it back. And so that was kind of like a performed hit where they had some kind of sabotage that took place on it. And that would be wild. That's a super public kind of thing to do. But that's the only kind of tinfoil hat thing I have there. And that's not even globalist. That's just like, black market cartel getting their payback.
Well, I heard something about this. So let's play this audio too. I don't know if it's the same one, but they're claiming that it sounds like somebody saying they're effing with the wrong people at the 8 to 9 second mark. So.
Med Service 056 Northeast Tower.
I gotta crank it up.
I did hear it though. I heard that.
56098.
It did kind of sound like that, to be honest. But the community notes on that part.
Yeah, so it's from a different that part's from a different plane.
5609.
Right. Yeah, so that's a different plane. So I don't know. Weird. We're gonna disregard that, but it is part of the story, I guess. People are speculating. But wow.
Right.
Anyways, I guess we'll go ahead and probably call it there. I know you said you needed to jump off about a half hour ago, so we'll go ahead and just wrap it up there. I appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Saw some new people. Steve Splenda, thanks for joining in the conversation, man. You really added some stuff to the conversation. We hope to see you again in the future. Make sure you do consider subscribing to both channels. We are each broadcasting to our own channel. And so we're trying to get Atlas over 1,000 subs as well over on his. So if you don't mind, when we wrap up, maybe clicking over there to Atlas Thug's channel and giving him a sub, and then sub to my channel if you haven't as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
and smash the like button.
Yeah, he asked what's the other channel. How is it Atlas Thugged or is it?
Yeah,
Atlas?
it's exactly as what you'll see right here. It'll be Atlas Thugged. There might be a space, there might not be. I can't remember.
Okay.
Let me actually double check while if I'm going to give that out, be specific because I'm not even sure myself.
But yeah, appreciate you for doing
no
that.
Space.
Steve. That's cool. No space. Okay. And then so yeah, appreciate everybody for being here. You guys have a good night. Make sure if you're over on X, you hit the follow. I'll follow you back. If you're on Rumble, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. Oh yeah, also make sure you do join the Discord. The link is in the description. I updated that link last show, so it should be the same. Should be the same working link. Oh, you know what? Actually, I overrode that. Is that? Let me click this real quick. Okay, yeah, that link still works. So I had to double check that link will work. So I'd love to see you guys join the Discord. We have some good conversations over there, and we're trying to grow strong Christian, masculine men. Bring back some a little bit of peace that we can help with. You know what I mean, to our culture and society and whatnot. And then what else you got?
I was going to say, I have my channel pulled up if you wanted to put that on screen.
Yeah. There we go.
Takes maybe look, because I thought there was no space. But yeah, no space in the ad there. But yeah, as always, Christ is King. If you want to find more radical Christian takes, I'm always generally in the realm of, I appreciate that, Steve. I'm always in the realm of Christian nationalism, radical far-right Christian extremism, whatever the left wants to paint me as, whatever the Daily Wire wants to paint me as, to be honest. But I would definitely welcome you in the Discord. I love arguing with people, especially when I'm right and they're wrong. But with that said, I do appreciate everybody for being here. I'm glad that we're getting a lot more involvement and engagement from you guys, because you guys make the show operate. Without you guys here, wouldn't mean much to us at all. But with that being said, hope everybody has a good rest of your night.
Definitely. Guys, have a good weekend. And we'll see you guys on Monday at 7 Eastern. 7 Eastern. Have a good night, everybody. Christ is King.
Yep. Take care.
Let's roll, rolling Atlas Dog. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Dog. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar openers podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Dog, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar openers podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Dog, fearless in our release. Jar openers podcast, where the lies will decrease.